Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back for another Appendix and Book Club meeting. This evening, we will be talking about Lynn Carter's The Warrior of World's End. You guys all finished it, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I've read it twice.
Oh, really?
Well,
I'm guess.
once a couple years back, and then
Oh, okay,
recently for the show.
okay. I didn't read all of the appendix because I figured I got it. Uh, you know, there were a couple of terms that I did read, but it's like I think I got it, but I couldn't remember any of the names if my life depended on it. So I'm gonna have to rely on you guys for that kind of information. What do you got there, Justin?
I think that's Jägermeister. 56 herbs and spices.
The book was that rough on you, was it?
No.
You're just drinking cuz?
It's better than the Sputter Gut.
That is a
Okay.
great reason.
Yeah.
I just officially now know why Grammaticus Books has the Lynn Carter scale.
Really, please inform the rest of the class why you think that is so.
Uh, it's fun.
Yes.
It's a very fun book. It is not a very well structured book.
No, this thing doesn't have a plot until the last 50 pages.
It has the start of 4 plots, maybe 5, before it finds one and decides to resolve it.
Yeah. It was a little rambunctious. Uh, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad I read it. I want to read the other ones. Just
Yes,
for
so do I.
what?
So do I. Okay,
Same.
so it opens up. It
Mhm.
opens up with a plot of who this guy is. The Blue Rains. Blue Rains is a good mystery. Turns out it's just die. That one's kind of resolved. And the God Maker and his tree wife. Um, then it switches over to we're going to start a invasion story with a great battle, and that goes nowhere. Then it goes over to the Red Queen, which is teased but goes nowhere.
There's more for her in the second.
I have no doubt she comes back. There's so little of her mentioned, you gotta bring her back.
Yep.
Then there is the Mystery of the Tower. We could have had some fun with that. That's with the wizard, who we do stay with, but we're teased on like there being a mystery of this place before it's just kind of dropped. Then we're teased with there was another one, wasn't there? We're giving maybe there's like a religious intrigue story
Mhm.
with the city where we do find is she underage or not chick
We'll
who
get
is
to
a
that.
knight, because there's quite a few references of her adolescent breasts.
Yep.
Lynn liked him young.
We all did at one point. So
Yes.
Well, I mean, yeah, we were all kind of young. That's probably what he's going for. But it can be a little awkward. An older guy who looks like,
he did die
also,
young.
yeah, like, we'll be ribbing them Carter quite a bit, but it is very tragic that he did die very painfully of cancer. I mean, that's kind of hard to not feel
Yeah.
bad for him.
well, I don't know if he's a pedo. I'm glad he did.
Well, there's no inclinations that
I don't think he was. Or at least, I don't believe so.
he was just a heterosexual male.
Yes. I mean, I trust him over, say, Miriam Zimmer Bradley.
Yeah, I would trust a starving, starving pit bull over Marion Zimmer Bradley.
Yeah, at least the pit bull will eat dog food. This got really harsh. Will you continue, Mr. Thor?
Hey, you brought up her. You know,
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
she deserves to be ridiculed
Yes,
and torn up verbally, etc., until the end of time.
indeed.
Just
Sadly, she didn't go out in my method of preferred extermination of pedos, and that is white phosphorus. Uh,
Hey,
so.
Martine.
Go ahead,
Mark,
Tanner.
We were discussing Warrior World's End by Lynn Carter, and we got sidetracked at roasting Miriam Zimmer Bradley because she fucking deserves it.
yeah,
That's what's up. But
Yeah.
she,
What's up,
she,
Mark?
yeah,
Mark, you got to join us for one of these, man.
yeah. This book
yeah,
was easy too.
Oh yeah,
yeah, like
I
love it or hate
really
it, it's a very fast read.
Oh, well,
I
yeah.
won't say that. I mean, it did take me a couple of days to read the actual paperback because
Yeah.
stuff got in the way. But
That's the copy I've got too.
this
Likewise,
was
I think
you guys nailed it. This was really fun. You know,
Well,
other than that one thing about the breastises, this could have very easily been a kid's book.
well, it was a kid's book.
kinda.
You were expected to not care about that as a child when
Um,
you were a child.
yeah, I didn't get that impression. But then when I looked at the map, I'm like, yeah, this is a kid's book.
Yes, this
Even the art
draws
on the first page, the one piece of art, I'm like, why is there a piece of art once in here?
a
Uh,
lot of Daw were like that. Also, I assume this is Ganelon Silvermane. This is not what I imagined he looked like at all. This looks more like Kevin Bacon with a goatee.
My copy did not have the piece of art. Could you hold it up to the camera? I
Yeah,
did not see if you did. I was okay. Yeah, yeah.
it's got a very classic illustrated look to it. Um, I didn't like not in the first book, but later on. Oh yeah, it was in book one. The scene, and then it rambles on with half a dozen places, the characters, a bunch of people, including people with no names. Those aren't characters. You know what I mean? At the beginning of each book, and mind you, the books were only like 50
Yeah,
pages.
breaking story up into books instead of like major chapter arcs is not an uncommon thing. It's just a structural technique.
hmm
Yeah,
Um,
like
it
with
felt
the
unnecessary and a
like
little like
Dune is broken up into like three books technically.
yeah. The
Like the
same with
first,
Tolkien is six.
yeah,
The Lord of the Rings is six books, I believe. This didn't need it. It's barely 150 pages. Like this is one book. Shut up.
exactly.
yeah,
Other than that, this was really a lot of fun. Um, but I kept wondering, because this was actually they were written out of order. Let's say the last book was written
Kinda.
first.
What happened was that a couple of years before the release of this one here, Lynn Carter wrote a novel called Giant of World's End, and I think because one editor or close friend of him said, "Dude, make some more," he effectively restarted the series with this one here and expanded the story. Bigger quotes stories. That said, you can still read Giant of World's End as the ending, and it still works and actually makes a lot of the stuff way more poignant. But there's effectively the standalone, and then there's the series. Murder, Rooster, always good to see you. You
It's
also
okay.
gotta join in with us sometime.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I just popped the map as an image in
Mhm.
the group chat.
Yes. This book, Lynn Carter was a gigantic fan of the Oz series, and from the names, from the descriptions, you can
Mhm,
absolutely see all of that in here. But of course, he's writing a much more macho,
mhm,
dying Earth sword and sorcery story. So you've got incon not inconsistencies, but sort of odd little brain blips with like a Tiger Man chef asphyxiating and dying as blood runs down his nostrils.
Yes, yes.
Uh,
That was like if this was written by a author from a later school, so more recent, say, the 80s or 90s instead of the 50s.
Is that when this was written?
No, but that's when
70s.
he learned his craft in the
Okay,
50s and 60s.
Mhm.
Editing.
74.
Um, he learned his craft during that time, editing the Conan books. He was one of the driving forces behind the. Who did that Black Spine thing with the camp and him were the ones who edited
Uh,
the.
yeah,
Well, who did that series? Was it Rock or
I don't know.
was it Dar? Um, you have the first one. You showed it off last week, I think.
Was it Valentine?
Maybe
Might have
I
been
don't.
Valentine. Also,
Yeah,
I'm being called, so I'll be right back. Sorry.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I wanna pick your brain there. What do you mean with Grammaticus? Why he puts this guy's books on?
He has like the good to bad scale everyone has. Then he has the Lynn Carter scale, which is it is cheesy bad writing, but is it fun or not?
Okay,
And like you can forgive a lot of bad writing for a fun book,
okay.
but if it's not fun and it's bad, it's just bad.
Mhm.
So there's that. He calls it the Lynn Carter scale because Lynn Carter is always a bad writer, no exceptions. But he's also a fun writer about 50% of the time. So, like I enjoyed this book, but there's a lot of parts like what did you do with that? You brought that up, you did nothing with it. You brought that up, you did nothing with it. You
Mhm.
brought that up, but you did nothing with it. But I enjoyed those things you brought up when you did.
I gotta wonder if he's not seeding the land for the next books,
I doubt it. Maybe with the Death Dwarfs, which are
or
stupid
the
sounding.
red chick, whatever her name was. What's up, nerdy?
The Red Queen, which
Yeah.
is apparently going to come back according to Tanner. Uh, but it's still like okay. I could see that if you wrote that before, like I was telling you, foreshadowing. There was things you could tell, like the what was the thing called, the crab creature with 13 eyes,
Oh, Frinks or Fricks.
fricks, something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
Heck, what I missed.
27 arms or
what?
appendages.
Um, it's teleporting at the beginning was foreshadowing for it to do that later.
Yeah.
Obviously, like that's the kind of thing like, oh, I'm gonna have him teleport to save everybody. Well, I better write that in at the beginning so people don't just think I made that up at the last minute.
Mhm.
Um, which I was trying to tell you about before in a writing thing. You do that so it doesn't feel like it's just I wrote myself into a corner,
Mhm.
gonna make some shit up to get myself out of it. But if I say it like 4 chapters earlier, it doesn't feel that way to the reader.
Mhm.
I don't know, nerdy. What is the word of the day? I'm guessing
Uh,
it's legs. Just saying.
yes.
Probably construct.
Construct. It's not Theus. He didn't use it enough.
So, what did you guys think about the obvious dying Earth Jack Vance style?
This is this is at once his Lynn's most original work and unoriginal work because he is chop sueying, if that's even a word at all. Maybe chop sueying is the word of the day. Not just the Dying Earth, not just Sothique, but he's also throwing in a lot of the Book of Ta because you've got um Gondwain, Gondwanaland, absolutely Henry Kuttner's The Dark World because both characters have both stories have a main character named Ganelon. Uh, Absolutely Edgar Rice Burroughs. Absolutely
Mhm.
Oz. There's probably a few others that I've missed if Justin picked up on any of those.
No, but I'm not super familiar with the breadth of the era in literature. I'm more of a later in fantasy.
Fair enough.
That's why I say, like, if this I was about to say, if this was written by someone more familiar with writing techniques a few decades on, a lot more of that would have not just been resolved. Like this book would have been 400 pages instead of
Yes.
150, 170. My copy. Um,
Yeah, sadly, books are not designed to be read on your lunch break anymore.
well,
That's pretty
it's
fast. I'm a pretty fast reader when I'm reading.
that
160
four,
pages at my best is
400
160.
is small under contemporary.
Yeah.
Well, a decade ago contemporary. There's a bit of trend to get back to the thinner books. Um, but no, there's a lot more room for like exploring that stuff and actually tying in all those resolves and writing more in the details. So like something would have been done with that scene that Tanner referenced with the blood coming down the Tiger Man, and he wouldn't have just been made up out of whole cloth. He would have been seeded more into the world
Mhm.
through our characters' interactions.
Hey, I got a question because you guys brought up, the character's name is Ganelon, but there's also a Ganelon in the Amber books, which we're going to pick up.
That might also be a reference to Kuttner, because I want to say that Zelazny was a fan of his. Do you remember him ever bringing him up?
No, I honestly thought it went back as far as Shakespeare somewhere, but I'm not a big Shakespeare
I want
guy,
to say it did. Yeah.
which would make even more sense because Zelazny was more into Shakespeare than Kuttner, and
How do
I,
you spell it? G.
Oh. You spell the name as.
Ganelon.
G
Yep, that is
A
correct.
L
It comes from as
O.
No,
early as
no,
the 11th century.
Okay.
Ganelon.
Okay. And you said the last letter was N.
Yes,
So Ganelon.
correct.
Okay. Okay.
I would just do a Shakespearean search if there was a Ganelon character.
Mm,
He's even from before Shakespeare.
the
Could
He
be.
character Ganelon
he's from at least the 11th
origins.
century, probably earlier. So it's a very, very old name, which is fitting for a near human artificial person, 7'6" tall, I think 3 feet wide, rippling with muscle,
400
cooked to
pounds.
that. Yeah, over 400. And something I appreciate is that his illusionist buddy, his master, effectively, his the guy who
Yeah.
takes under his wing, his little bubble craft can hold 2 people, and Ganlon's this as heavy as 2 people, so it's just bobbing along and not doing very well. Confound
Yeah.
you!
Yeah. And it drains of all power and does.
Mhm.
What just seems to be like a contrivance. Like I had a cool idea for a mode of transportation and like a reason to get rid of it, and then I had a different idea for a cool mode of transportation. So I'm just gonna
Heard.
like contrive a way to get rid of the old one so I can use the new one that sounds better without having to rewrite the entire sections I've already
Mhm.
written.
Take care, nerdy. Nice seeing you. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to go into the tech a little because this Gamelon. Yeah, his name was Gamelon. What's up, Brian? Long
With
time
an
no
N.
see. I love the Gamelons. That was a fun show. This book actually seems more Gamma World ish in a way.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
Uh,
personally, I see it
Bubble
more as that section in the DMG, which is let me see if I got the name here because I wrote it down. Yeah, this is what happens when you're in high school and you've just finished reading Mutants and Magic in the DMG section,
yeah.
and you look at your Arduin booklets that your aunt got you for your birthday last year, and looking at your box of minis with knights and barbarians and mutants and robots and Barsoomian Martians, and you go, I can do that.
Let's just
Yeah,
use them
Gary, let's
all.
do some magic. Yeah, fuck it. Let's make a mega setting. Um,
Hmm.
but yes, like you've got and going through the characters, like the illusionist and Zandra, the Nitrix, the girl with the I'm refreshed. They're clearly D&D characters because you've got an illusionist,
Okay.
very high level. You've got clearly a fighter, maybe a cavalier, but let's just go with fighter for now. And then the Bazunga bird, who, given Lynn Carter's
Yeah,
Blue Man throughout the
Bazonga
series,
bird.
yeah, you might as well just call it a Gazunga bird, and just
It's making up for the night chick
yeah,
slack
Nitrix,
there.
Nitrix. Oh, burn. Um,
No,
that's
no,
clearly a
no. I'm
robot.
officially renaming her Night Chick.
Okay, in that case, Sandra will going forward be known as Night Chick. Um,
That's funny because she was one of my favorite characters, if not my
same,
favorite.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're
same.
too.
Like,
To-
she's a
I,
very
I,
simply
I,
written character. She
I
appears in
want
like
her to
the
have
last
an
third.
18th birthday. That's all I want.
Let's see if she appears in the later books because she might. But yes, for those listening at home who've not read this yet, and you probably should, at least for a lark, she's from a kingdom. Men and women are equal, but men are the scientists and the artists, and they're very refined and very gentlemanly. And it's the women who actually don armor and go out and fight. And so there's a great line where it's like she's complaining about the peace epidemic back at home, where our current king's even more civil and bookwormish than usual. There's nothing for us to do. We need slaughter. We need battles. We need everything a woman needs. This is ridiculous. And Alicia's like, yes, yes, I feel for you very deeply.
that's probably where he's from. You know,
Very
uh,
likely.
Who the wizard or
The
the
illusionist,
illusionist,
yeah.
yes.
yeah,
Which
the
is funny because
illusionist?
he was like the only one in the entire story that actually used any kind of magic whatsoever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, for
Um,
a high fantasy story, the the Gandalf in the Wings character.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with there only being like there was enough magic for me to not give a shit. Um,
Well, there was no magic. Is my point. It was all tech. It was all ancient tech. You know, the
There's more
planets.
magicians later on.
I hope so. But I mean, there's tech.
well,
You know, high tech stuff everywhere you looked, except the God makers. What a funny,
Yeah, that is a
ridiculous.
stroke of satirical genius.
Oh my
Whatever you may say
I
about them,
took it that
there's some great gags in here.
they just make statues of gods.
Well,
You
more
notice
accurately,
that?
they make custom order deities to worship, so they're idol makers.
yes.
Yes.
When he was talking about the barbarian who needed a 12-headed deity with each head more fearsome than the.
Three-headed.
I was like, oh my god, he's just
Like,
making shit up. You
hmm
know.
like that is
Yeah.
such a that's like something from like one of the Fafhrd and Grey Mauser stories, the kind of thing you'd see on like the Street of Gods. Was it called the?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the question of what you would steal for your campaign, that that's what I'm
Yes,
stealing.
absolutely that, and I'm particularly fond of the city they go to,
I,
where
I'm a down on my luck god maker. I'm forced to make stupid amulets and shit
I
with
can't
my
even have kids because
defective
they use
tree
P
wife.
radiation to sterilize me when I entered the order.
Yeah,
I don't know. There were a lot of
I'm
things
a
in here I could
eunuch with
feel.
my
I
just
mean,
not hot enough tree wife.
Oh, she was gorgeous. It's just she almost got thrown in the shredder because her spine had a bit of a dent in it, so she's got a little
Yeah,
bit of a hunch.
she hunches.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, but I bet it's like the smallest fucking
Yeah,
dent.
knowing this
Yeah,
series, absolutely. Like, there's
like
definitely like, and you gotta think about the
all,
satire of,
all
hey,
the other
let's
women.
throw custom-made women. Oh, this one's not quite perfect. Throw in the
Yeah,
shredder for fertilizer.
yeah. All the other women.
this game this novel
Mhm,
already has such great potential for a whole campaign, you know,
mhm.
or a setting or a world setting book, right there alongside the Dying Earth. I just
Yeah.
hope Goodman Games doesn't do it because well reasons, but I mean
You don't think they do it very well?
there's so much you
No,
could steal from this.
it would all be about the night chicks of whatchamacallit and how they're proud black lesbians, and
Even though she's red hair in the book.
Mm-hmm.
well,
Red hair,
especially
green
that,
eyes, and freckles.
Yeah.
especially now.
Mhm. I mean,
Like,
it's pretty telling that Goodman Games Forum recently closed down. So,
yeah,
No, say it isn't so.
oh, it did like recently.
No,
Richard
I'm
told
looking
me.
at their Judges Guild Deluxe Edition Volume One. I can't wait to read it because it was written so long ago. But I
they
don't
they were always on the lefty side of things. It's just they
Mhm.
were
less vocal.
well,
Less
no,
asinine, maybe.
they were never that. They were never less vocal. It's just back in the 70s, there was less crazy about it.
I think they were crazy. We just didn't see it as.
Wait, whoa! Judges Guild was not lefty. Goodman Games was though, and
Oh,
Goodman
pardon.
Games has
Yes,
only been around.
that's what.
Goodman Games has only been around for 20 or so years tops.
Okay, then I'm thinking of the other company. I'm thinking of
Chaosium?
no, the one that made what's that stupid paranoia game? Not paranoia, the card game.
Oh,
Oh,
Steve Jackson.
yeah, that's
Steve
those
Jackson.
guys.
Yeah,
That's
I get those two confused a lot.
yeah. Judges Guild was very right leaning, Christian, etc. Whereas Goodman Games, who knows? And they're only about 20 miles from where I live. I just found out. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'd love to go over there and just
yeah.
shut up and make games.
Where's Steve Jackson located? Is it
I want to
Seattle
say
or
Illinois, but I
Illinois?
could be wrong. I mean,
Yeah,
I might be thinking of Mark Miller and Traveler.
probably.
Yeah.
I know. I think they're Seattle, or if not
Oh,
California.
yeah, I think you're right.
Um, because that was that thing with that fucking game. Oh, you just said it, and I forgot the name already.
Illuminati.
Illuminati. Uh, people say they got rated for that, but it wasn't. It's their
Garp Cyberpunk.
no, their forum admin, because they had a message board back in the 70s and 80s. Their admin was also doing like hacking stuff,
Ooh.
and he was using their computers to run that shit through, like
Oh.
trade access codes and stuff with over the web.
Hmm.
So that's why they got rated. And then like it was the same computer that their Illuminati forum was on, because their forum was named after the card game, their general one. So like it gets referred in the same document. People, oh, they got rated for Illuminati. No, they got it rated because their admin was a fucking hacker.
Mhm. And they consulted a ton of hackers on Cyberpunk.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, they
Something
had
else that
one
you
in
used.
house.
That was our Talzorian, though, wasn't it?
I think that was the
Cyberpunk.
the writer.
Yeah, I don't think
Uh,
that was Steve Jackson Games.
yeah, they had it for the sequel, I think, or the
Sorry, I
third
meant
one.
Garp Cyberpunk. Their
Oh,
own
okay.
Yeah,
genre.
yeah, but that was later. That was much later. I'm pretty sure.
So, did you guys have a favorite
Side
character?
note. Uh,
I think we've already said the illusionist and night chicks.
yeah, Night Chick. Night Chick was fun. Night Chick
Mhm.
was like there could have been more done here, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Back
because she
to
she
my
was
point
still,
earlier.
even though even though he tried to make the women of that nation masculine, she still could shop with the best of them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's an immutable trait of womankind, if you will, that you
Only
can't.
the joke, of course, is that she's
well,
shopping for greaves and plate mail and swords, and like she like shakes her like purse. Mother didn't raise a foolish shopper.
yeah. And still, what's his name is fucking bemoaning having to go shopping. Um,
He was
Gallant.
at least glad it wasn't
God.
undergarments.
Well, I'm gonna say what's his name because he was.
He's kind of flimsy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's no Conan.
Well,
He's no
part of what
Conan in the
bothered,
Spider God.
well, what bothered me about him is, essentially he's a child,
Yeah,
like 4 or 5 year old child throughout most of the book.
Well, I never get
in this
that. I
really
get
pulpy
that like in
body.
the first chapter, but then I just kind of get like he's
I mean,
quiet and
unless they
inquisitive.
fast forwarded a couple of half a dozen or more years that I didn't realize.
I took that as being between them walking out of the plains or the deserts or whatever when they first meet him, and the battle
Getting to the
scene.
city.
The
Yeah.
battle scene, like there's kind of like descriptions of what they've been doing, right?
Yeah, but they should have said like a decade, just so that it doesn't feel like you're sending a 4 year old child with retard strength in to go fight your battles
I
for
knew you were
you.
gonna reference that.
Yeah, we like
Yeah,
the retard word
like
on
remember
this
the idea is
corner.
that because they mentioned in the book the time gods before they got wiped out by a meteor from unknown force, they set up a bunch of these that grown superhumans, and what would happen is that they'd use telepathy or machinery to give them the memory and skill they need. But of course,
Yeah,
because there was a mistake with Ganelon, he comes out and he's a simpleton and has to learn speech. And something I'll point out to, which is absolutely an Edgar Rice Burroughsism that is borrowed here, is that across um, Gondwanaland, miles and miles and miles across countless species and civilizations, everyone speaks common.
Yep.
yeah.
Everybody. So there's a common tongue here, and they're like, how does he not know how to speak this? Even the deaf dwarfs speak this.
Yes, I like there was the one people that were eccentric and had their own language
Mhm.
that were like backwards, and I guess they had been wiped out or something. But
Yeah, Lynn's really good at very eccentric civilizations, like that one city where if you're not part of their very specific religious order, you have to wear this gaudy sandwich
Tabard.
sign that reads, I am a heretic, I am unclean, and you can get ticketed for running too quickly.
Yeah, I really hated that
violating the
place.
speed limit, violating the speed limit.
Violating the speed
It was.
limit.
He is. Uh, he's got a really, or he had, I don't know, a really good sense of humor for the time. It's just a shame he couldn't, like focus a little more and leave stuff for later. Trying to, I mean, this book went. I mean, I felt like I read like several hundred more pages just trying to recollect all the things that had happened in this book. He really
Yes.
doesn't stick around for long.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the best and worst part of this book is that it really feels like 700 million years of stuff.
yeah. Well, this was like it's like 5 or 6 things are picked up and
Hmm.
never resolved. They should have been like the early life of them from the Blue Rains part.
Hmm.
Like they could instead of that. Oh, it's just die. It took about a month. Well, it would have been funny if we lived with what's his name and his tree wife and
Mhm.
Ganelon or
Hmm.
Mango, not Conan. Um, uh, like living through that while the old man's bitching about like being blue for a month.
Hmm.
That would have been fun, especially
Mhm.
if there were like mini adventures and shit. Like maybe they go into a town and people think he's a demon or something, and they have to like get out of
Or a
there or
leper
something.
because everybody knows to
Yeah,
stay out of the rain.
Mhm.
yes, or a leper. It doesn't fucking matter. He's gonna bring the plague on us, the blue rain plague. Oh,
The
and
sniffles.
yeah, and maybe he does have a cold from being out in the rain. So even funnier. Uh,
One
we could have
mystery.
we could have done 100 pages on that
Mhm.
if he was just a better writer. Um,
Indeed, the good and bad thing with Carter is that he is very much a fan's fans. Like, s- if you look at like certain magazines in like the 40s, you'll see his letters there. He was a
Really?
massive.
that's how he got into writing.
Mhm.
Um,
And he something that we should give him a lot of credit for is that he spearheaded the legendary Time adult fantasy selection, which
Yes,
brought
it
tons
was.
of out of print material back into print.
Yes, I think you were answering a phone, or was it just before you left? I was telling that to Shadow that it was him and Lynn Carter that brought back the Conan books, and he was the spearhead on that.
Yes,
Or not Lynn Carter,
Spring
Elspray de
Camp.
Camp. Elspray de Camp.
kinda. Yeah, they brought a lot of that stuff back in print, but often these stories were re-edited or
Yes, they
thrown
were
into
the ones that did that
pastiches.
re-editing.
Yes, that is them. Mind you, Carter probably enjoyed the work a lot more than, say, DeCamp, who never quite got Conan.
Yes.
And Pratt just couldn't stand the stuff.
Mhm. And a lot of those pastiches were actually his writing. Um,
Mhm.
which yeah.
We mentioned our favorite character. Before we go to our least favorite character, there were a lot of other honorable mentions. I got to say, you know,
Mhm.
uh, Fricks was
Oh,
hysterical.
he's wonderful. Wonderful character. He's like Pepe the Shrimp as a dimension hopping, soul sucking lobster.
Yeah.
Amen.
I
Okay.
bring you no cocoa in bed for punching me.
Like, okay, sorry. You
I
know,
thought you were trying to kill. I didn't know it was you. Bring me my cocoa, please. I
Black
just
man,
like
I'm
I can
tamed.
feel that. Like I
Yep.
felt that. That was good writing.
Mhm.
yeah.
Like,
Even the Bazonga bird. I love that
oh,
character as well.
I hate it. That was my least favorite. I
Really,
think the Bazonga bird was like, I don't know if it was just the stupidness of the name or.
yeah, the name. I kind of discounted the name and focused more, especially later in the book when she, is kicking ass.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She was a jalopy of a mechanical bird with a crystal brain.
Yep.
That it was just new to life. It will not new to her sensory gifts that had been recently installed because she started out as a sentient crystal that lived for millions of years or whatever with no eyes, ears, nose, mouth, just a brain in a rock for a long
Yeah.
time, and then someone put it in to this giant brass bird machine, kind of like a. I kind of pictured it like a cross between a clockwork golem thing and
Yeah.
a sop with camel.
Oh yeah.
One thing I do not get, like, how stupid are these characters? Like
It's an Oz pastiche. They are very, very foolish.
no. Okay, we know about like floating magic rocks from outer space. There's
There's lots of mobile stuff, floating stuff.
there's anti gravity tech in this world, obviously, but we have no idea how these floating islands came to float. None whatsoever. Maybe the gravity shut off and they went up, and the gravity turned back on, and everyone else survived, but these islands are still. But there's floating
Canonically,
rock.
canonically, that may have happened because he's mentioned that the laws of physics are kind of breaking down after 700 million
Mhm.
years.
Yes,
Which in
but
itself would make for a very wacky but fun game world. I want to
mm,
play in that world at least a couple of sessions,
Oh yeah, and
or at
like
least
but
going
is
back.
next
it
time.
Mhm.
is it the laws of physics breaking down, or is it people just being idiots and saying that because they don't understand how old technology is doing
Oh really?
things?
There's a couple of footnotes, and I also like to point out this book has footnotes and an appendix. That
Yes.
yeah,
It's
certain
150
things.
pages.
Yes.
It has,
Link Carter cared that much. That yes, there are spots where things just work differently now.
Yes.
and you said that he cared that much, but I also get the impression he just pulled this out of his ass one weekend, and boom, oh, masterpiece, cool. Oh
And
wait,
Well, he
this
probably
is
didn't think it was a masterpiece, but yeah, this
it
is
was a
him
piece.
taking a Gatling gun and firing all of his ideas into a sheet of paper.
this is why I say I strive to write on the Lynn Carter scale of writing.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my new
Shadow,
favorites.
Shadow,
Yeah,
you need
he's
to
my
work
favorite
towards
Mad
that scale.
Writer.
Yeah, I'll get there one of these days, maybe if I live long enough and
Get
don't just decide to, create a new identity and move to the Philippines, and
Become a drug dealer again.
no,
Start peddling some Thai hookers.
Lady
no,
boys.
no,
He already sells lady boys, bro.
no,
I
no.
didn't say they were boy hookers.
Well, Shadow and all his
Yes, I know
identities.
that story many times. Everyone here watching knows that story many times. It was their first episode, at which point, you're in for a treat.
Shadow, amongst all his
Don't tell him it's
identities,
funnier that way.
Oh my God, Ted, that was
has
funny.
only one policy in life, and that is
My
let
dog
this
just figured out how to
have
use a doorknob.
penises.
Oh.
Good
How did you
dog.
do that, Chewy?
Now bite the gay pornographer.
He wants
But
to shoot horrible things with the blue lobster guy.
like I was saying, I want to run this game. Like the next time my players like accidentally teleport somewhere wrong, it's going to be
Get
like
into
this
Gone
place.
Wayne.
It's gonna be not gone wind.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of
LOL.
not Gone Wayne, if going back to earlier, I kind of trailed off. If the Nitrix and the Illusionist are a fighter and a illusionist, and would the bird be a mutant animal or a robot? Probably a robot.
Mhm.
I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that Ganelon is absolutely a mutant humanoid from Metamorphosis Alpha Gamma World, who
Absolutely.
rolled ace on his physical mutations. So just tough, natural armor skin, huge strength score, huge con score,
Mhm.
What
can
was the
throw
wizard
rocks like
called
it's
again?
nothing. Yeah, he can
Oh.
run like 30 miles, and he doesn't need to eat all that often, although he does.
Mhm.
Mm.
And enjoys it rather heartily. He just, he's got perfect stats. He's
Hmm.
just, a little,
So he's like me.
Yeah.
well, he's just maybe smarter.
See, actually, something I was getting
Uh,
reminded of reading this, although it's a very different take on, young man becomes a superhuman
I want to say,
science fantasy.
I
Is
want to say, I'm smart enough to have never made gay porn, Shadow.
Well, I didn't make it.
Lies.
It just happened. Like
It
somebody
just.
made it.
like you. It just happened.
uh,
Something I was being reminded of watching this was
according to my mother, my father had a very intimate moment with a flower pot. It was intentional. I didn't just happen.
So, least favorite
you're half right.
characters, or least favorite character?
The stupid bird.
Okay, Tanner.
Probably. Hmm. Again, the characters I tend not to like in this are the characters I'm not supposed to like anyway. But I'll give a slightly honorable mention. Actually, I'll say this: the villain was rather underdeveloped. A guy who
Mhm.
can control the atmosphere and kill you is scary, but there wasn't enough done with him because again, he only shows up in the last third or fourth of the book, so it's like
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
he's a credible
uh,
threat, but we need a bit more meat, you know?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The whole, that I really hated the explanation of how he could wear a solid gold suit of armor, because he was sniffing some drugs that just got mentioned as an afterthought. When there could have been all kinds of funny things that they could have done with that character.
Now, if the first book in this had been 170 pages or 150 pages instead of the 30 it was,
Mhm.
um, and that was like a thing going on in the background, like the drug use,
Mhm.
right? And maybe
I don't
Godwin
even
had to
remember
take down.
mentioning it, but he did mention it.
I want to
Uh,
say that he did discover some substance and uses it, but again, way too blink and you'll miss it.
yeah,
Um, again,
like
this is a character I actually kind of am amused by, so it's not dislike. But the general or the guy running the army at the start when they get attacked by the Indigons,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, he was kind of
and that
a
could have
schmuck.
been like several beats of that. Like we see that in
mhm.
person instead of it just kind of mentioned in the background.
Yeah, like
Would have
that's
been a
when
lot more fun.
kind of shifts from Gamma World to Asterix the Gaul, because there's definitely Roman soldiers. I always remember that guy. I should mention, not for nothing, that Lynn Carter was in it was an infantry man in Korea.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me that wonders on a second read through if this guy was based off of a really disliked, really incompetent higher up.
Mm-hmm.
That
E4.
from what the Grammaticus books guy says, that's a running theme through Lynn Carter books.
Indeed,
Like, if you haven't watched that YouTube channel out there,
I have heard a
people,
few. Yes,
what?
I have seen a good chunk of his videos. Yeah, good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. He has a whole episode on Lynn Carter,
Mhm.
like directly giving a
Um,
biographical. Okay, but to the
Yeah,
people out there, I recommend that channel.
mhm, definitely. Any Zelazny fan is a good
Yes,
time.
he likes the last name too.
oh yeah,
I don't.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
like me and
Uh,
Fokker,
what?
in joke between us that's developed.
Yes, but I missed what you said.
I said like myself and the Farford and the Grey Mouser tales.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I love those books too. But
Yeah.
Um, any other thoughts that should be shared or thrown in
yeah,
there?
we kind of touched on what you'd steal, but was there a favorite or least favorite moment you guys had with this one?
Um, there actually is one moment I'd like to highlight. I've already highlighted Night Chicks going on a rant on how flaccid her kingdoms become and how, the knights have to go out and find adventure because it's so calm and peaceful there. There's this one passage which absolutely illustrates what Justin was getting to, where more stuff should be left unsaid. There's a scene where the illusionist, and if you're wondering why we've not said his name yet, he has a name, but his face is behind a puff of smoke, and he shushes someone down when he's about to say it. The wraith, I think.
Yeah.
He's showing Ganelon his crib, and he shows him this one. I think it's one tree here, and he says, "Ganelon, do you see that star sign up there? Yeah, that's where I came from." You're kidding. No, no. My I lived and died up there and mastered my magics. My essences were crystallized and sent in a little rock. It landed by this tree. Went into the tree. Went into the fruit. Went into my mother when she ate it. And then, after I was born, I went through a ceremony and regained my mastery of magic. And he's like, "Well, is that true? Do you think it's true?" And very
Yeah.
deliberately, the narrator points out that Ganlon never got his answer. So this illusionist could have been messing with his head to kind of test his gullibility, or he could have been actually be from outer space.
Well, it's also a test that Ganelon passes. He
Yes.
doesn't. He doesn't fall for it. He doesn't openly believe it.
Yeah,
He
he
says
says it
it's not
sounds like
relevant.
something that could be fake
Yeah,
to literally
yeah.
test him.
What
Yeah.
which then like in that moment, the use of the word thews earlier in the book to reference his muscles now becomes a true statement because that word properly means both intelligence and muscularly strong
Hmm.
at equal levels. So if he is smart, he's just quiet to the point of having no personality.
I think
Hmm.
it's even more. It's more his age. He's so
Hmm.
young.
Yeah, I think
But
they said
he's
he's like,
not gullible.
that's
Right.
right.
Right? That's the
He
point
doesn't
of
know
that.
a lot,
Yeah.
but he clearly has the capacity for great knowledge. And right near the start, it mentions that this big, naked, hulking Superman is between like 15 and 20. So even if he's not a kid, there's still a lot that's just beyond his grasp right now.
Yeah, I missed that part. I got the impression the whole time he's like between 6 and 12.
In his like absorption of trivia and facts that you pick up through life,
Mhm.
right? But like
Hmm.
the point of I think that scene where he's tested to see if he's gullible is to see if he's got the intellectual maturity of someone who is a child.
Mhm.
But he doesn't. He has one of someone who is older.
Indeed, it's very
Um,
much the adolescence of Ganelon, or at least the start of it.
well, Well, it's the lack of information, not the lack of physicality or intelligence. Because
Right.
intelligence is not the facts you know; it's your ability to process
Mhm.
information and parse right from wrong. Um,
Which it's kind of he's kind of a tragic character, when you think about it.
no, because he's immortal, so it doesn't fucking matter. He's gonna pick that random crap up.
Right,
I'm
but
gonna have to side with Shadow here because I know what goes down in Giant World's End, and he does some very painful growing up there.
right. Well, he's never had. He's always been around adults. He comes into the world as an infant and gets immediately shoved into the position of an adult because of his size, and he never gets to play like a child, play with children because he would do the Frankenstein thing and throw him into the freaking lake
I'm
to
pretty
see
sure
if
the
they
Night
float.
Chicks is the first person around his age he actually becomes friends with.
Yeah, well, his apparent age,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
yeah,
Like, the guy's 200 million, but by the time, his parents found him, he was only about 7 hours old.
yeah.
So
Well,
he,
yeah,
he never gets
it's a
to
relative statement.
he never gets to
He's
uh,
also not human, so
right. He doesn't get to do the normal growing up that every other thing does, or at least every creature that isn't a plant. Even the animals have that playing with their brothers and sisters era. He had none of that. He went right into
Mhm.
being
Ooh, something I should mention,
a
I'm not
worker.
sure if I'd call it a favorite scene, but, I'm kind of, tickled pink that, after a celebration, which, Lin goes out of his way to make it clear that this is a very boring, dry, cut and paste sort of speech. Ganelon is awarded a superbly made, possibly magical silver sword that's 6 feet tall. So he got a masterwork silver weapon for defending the city. I mean,
yeah,
that's
He
just
also got he
WDD
also
right
got a lot
there.
of love letters.
Yep, from
yeah.
guys
You
and
see,
girls.
I totally missed that. I'm gonna have to go back and look at this because I heard I read the part where the silver sword was given to him, and then I don't know if I just skipped over a page by
Yeah,
accident or
when he's
something,
talking
or
about the perfumed letters that he received,
yeah,
uh, Lynn Carter was very, very, very deft at alluding to the fact that uh, yeah,
yeah.
it was one of the uh, moments I actually chuckled out loud that he wrote it like that. So do go and find it. It was very clever. He could have been, different about it, and I do like the fact that he didn't try to shove Zarda and Ganelon together immediately. In a story like this, there's only one female and only one guy who's eventually going to want to, get together with a female, and they didn't just try to mash them together at the first opportunity.
Like I
I
would
mean, they're
do.
both 16. Something I
Because
should also mention is
that's
that
if that doesn't happen, it's only because he just writes her out of the story and has somebody else in mind. Where I think
Yeah.
it would be better if they do get together. Although he's going to be 7 foot tall and she's probably never going to be over 5'2". But just saying. Um,
they
That's
do
okay.
mention that she does stand at his chest height, so she's not that much smaller, but there's still a very big size difference.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Something I should note with Ganlon is that because he is meant to prevent a tragedy that's not happened yet, and because he is designed to be the hero of this era, the time god saw it fit that he's got bits, he can pee, but he can't. He has no sexual drive, and they're
He's
gonna get.
also been hit with the Q radiation. Fucking Time Lords.
That was his dad. I'm pretty sure
No, no,
Ganlon
I
is
said
still. Uh,
also been hit with the Q
I see.
radiation.
Um, oh, one
Fucking
other
Time Lords.
moment. Yes, one other moment that I'm quite fond of is, and it's just a page. Tantalizingly, it's just a page. I'm very glad we're going to get more of her in book two. The scene where the Red Enchantress herself shows up in the city to and I really appreciate how he describes this. Of officially, the council is going to um, send Ganelon to assist this good lady city, and she will gift them back some gold to further. And in truth, no, she's there to buy him as a slave.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She wants a man meat. She stole the
Well,
show in that page she was there.
yeah. Well, that
Um,
should have been an entire chapter.
yes.
Or,
I
well,
also
like
appreciate the
an
detail that
entire scene. It should have been like 3 or 4 pages at least.
I also appreciate the detail that the reason she killed the last few Indigons is not necessarily that they were a rafting horde, but because their blue clashes with me. Like,
Oh.
that is such a petty reason.
I would kill people for less.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, the worst part about this book is the avalanche of proper nouns and that there's not much of a story. The great part of this book is that these individual pieces, snowflakes in the avalanche, are really, really good.
You're supposed to say the exact same thing. The
Yes,
the
actually that makes sense.
avalanche of nouns
Yes,
and what was the second parts of the story?
all
Or
the
Oh my
little
God, Tanner! I just
pieces.
saw what you posted.
Yes, again, I hate that I see this when I see Lynn Carter because I don't think he was a cruel,
oh
dangerous man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that forehead, those eyes, that nose, that beard.
Yeah.
I
Well,
kind of see it, but I don't
his
see it the
beard
way
is
you see it
full.
as much.
Thank goodness. Oh, I'm glad it's
Yeah.
just me this time.
Yeah, it's more you than anybody else. I see a lot of different features that you probably aren't seeing. I just gotta wonder why you
The
see.
eyes are kinder, and there's
Yeah,
more joy in the
you
face.
definitely can see that.
Yes.
Good on you. Good
Oh,
on you, Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the other
well,
guy.
there's alcoholism in the face. Get it right.
There could be definitely some of that.
Well, he got the throat cancer from the tobacco, but he agitated it with
yes.
the alcohol, so it made it worse.
It completely destroyed his face. He was in a lot of pain and heavily disfigured
Yeah,
by the last years of his life.
yeah, that's because he poured fucking gin on top of
Hmm.
a tumor, and it doesn't make it smaller. It makes it kill you in agony.
Yep.
Raven?
Is Raven there? I didn't see her.
No, 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 no. I was just giving that advice to Raven.
Yeah, she's gonna kill you one day.
Oh, I have no doubt that there are cat assassins on their way to me right now.
Holy crap!
Honestly, that sounds a bit like a Abraham Merritt story. These cats' claws drip blood.
Yeah,
Dun dun dun.
I definitely want to read the next one, but I do want a little time to go by before we read the next one. You
Yes,
guys
and
okay
the
with
other
that?
thing is,
Yeah,
I have the first, third, and fifth of these that I got from my typical used store a year or two back. But regrettably, the
You
second
know,
and fourth have never shown up, which is really frustrating because I really want to read the series in order and I can't find them. And I'm like,
well,
motherfucker.
are they
I'm
not
sure.
on that website?
Probably. If I can't find them and we're going to be reading that in the next few months or the next year, I'll absolutely just cave and buy them online.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm going to do. I got a first print here. I'll look
Which is
for
probably
another
the only
one,
print.
yeah.
and it actually the cool thing about it was actually from a guy in California, so I got it like really quick, and then I let it sit on my shelf until Tuesday. I think I started reading it, but I was like,
That,
this is really fun.
that's
Um,
about when I started too.
you know, 'cause I wasn't in the mood for something super serious, and this really did that. Unfortunately, not this next book we're going to read, but the book after is the going to be the Sign of the Unicorn from Zelazny because his birthday falls in between
Yep.
uh, that time, sort of. So
Okay,
we'll be
so
reviewing it a couple of days after his birthday. But
and his birthday
I
is on
think
the 3rd.
no, I think it's the 14th of June.
Oh,
I'm actually surprised very pleasantly that Justin liked it so much.
yeah.
Uh,
I feared this would not be your book at all. I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be fun, but
Like,
he's gonna kill me.
no, 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 no. Like, I went into it expecting it from watching Grammaticus talk about Lynn Carter. But like, it was fun. That is like the scale I judged. I judge all of these books on is whether it's fun. Then I judge the technical writing, and like if there was follow through, like this could have been 5 200-page books or 150-page books,
hmm.
honestly,
Or at
and
the very least, a
they
series of
would have
much tighter short stories.
Yeah, I gotta wonder though
yes.
if that that something like this um, is one of those streams of consciousness that once it's out you can't really go back to. It came across to me
That
like
He did
he
though. Giants at World's End.
no
yes,
what I
like,
mean is like this specific book once he had got it out he couldn't go back to it per
well,
se.
I think a big problem with the time period, like the pulp time period, is they didn't have the time to go back to things.
Mm.
There was very little actual because they were pumping out like 40 books or 40 stories a year or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely got the impression that this was barely edited.
I don't think it was edited at all.
You know,
Like that's another thing. It's like
I
they
found
didn't have
a
any of that
few
stuff.
instances where I had to reread the sentence and go, "Dude, no, that's just
Yeah.
that's just gibberish."
Hmm. There is
Or
quite a
just
bit of
really
that.
poor grammar or structured poorly. Just a couple instances, and I got the impression that this was like because sometimes I do that when I'm writing. It's like once I've written it, I just uh, it's like
Well, it
gone.
takes work to do that. Like it's
Mhm.
a exercise. It's a muscle you have to develop to do that.
Mhm. No, I
Um,
mean in the way of inspiration. He had the inspiration. He ran with it, and then it was just like poof, like vapor, gone.
yes. Well, like I was saying, that's a like being able to go back and do that with writing is a thing you have to train yourself to do.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
not something you just, oh, I'm going to do it now. It's like you have to sit there and force yourself to do it.
Yeah, I could easily see that in the era that he was doing this, that was more acceptable. Just write it, and
Well,
okay.
it was more acceptable in the subset that were like genre fiction.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like if he was writing literary fiction, which were two definitively separate like industries,
Mhm.
right? The
Mhm.
pulps were eventually absorbed, and that's like why you get the difference between a mass paperback and a hardcover book. Um,
Indeed.
like
Like
it would
people.
be more acceptable to write uh, uh, what would have come out as a hardcover back then every other year and make a living doing that, where these guys would have to write something every 2 to 3 weeks at least.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you had to fire from your hip. You had to go fast, and yeah, it's like there was sci-fi and fantasy that was respected, but a lot of it, was just relegated as pulp and nothing more. And it's
No, no.
again, Lynn Carter for all of his faults as a writer. Yeah,
Even at this point, that was still rare that there would be any sci-fi or fantasy that was respected. That didn't
Yeah,
start until Tolkien came around, and that was
yeah.
like
Other
what
than
about
H.G.
the
Wells, maybe.
'60s. No, even
um, James
that
Fisher
was
Hall?
like still early pulp.
These were the
Really.
good ones.
Yeah, these were the
Hmm.
good ones, and there were like one a decade that might
Mhm.
have become general knowledge outside of the children that read this stuff.
And say what you will about Lynn Carter, him trying to write Conan, like he was a big reason as to why that stopped being the case, at least to a degree. It's kind of why the adult fantasy line is called the adult fantasy line. It's pretty much going, look, guys, like there's great fantasy for kids, yet here's stuff that's worthy of, study, of, proper
Well,
reading when you're an adult.
it's stuff to amuse adults and not. It's like those jokes that aren't for kids in Disney movies.
I wasn't
Uh,
going there, but
well,
effectively,
like
yeah.
they're not always sexual, like those jokes, but
There.
like they're just there so the parents aren't scratching their eyes out watching.
Yeah, everything Robin Williams said in Aladdin.
Yes, right. You know, it's not always perverted stuff. Sometimes it's just like pop culture things your 4-year old would not understand
True.
because they
I'm
weren't
just thinking of
alive
something
to
like
understand it.
I'm just thinking of something like Flight of Dragons, which does have
Hmm.
humor, but it's not really like pop culture reference. It's more like heavier
That's
thought,
just an
like
example. It's just an example of
yeah,
pop culture reference.
absolutely. It's like
Um,
So, what are we in the mood for next 2 weeks from now?
I don't care.
are you still in the mood for something?
I've resigned the role of selecting or finding the books to Tanner.
Okay, Tanner, you're new.
Really? Are
If
you
we haven't
sure?
if we haven't read it
Okay.
Yeah.
and it's on the DMG list.
You have access
Okay.
to that
Are you
document?
guys still in the mood? I do have access to the document. Yes. I'm just trying to
Yes.
ask you guys: are you both in the mood for something lighthearted again, or do you want something a bit crunchier?
If it's on the list, I don't care.
Okay. In that case, I do have a recommendation. Um, and
And
that
it hasn't
is
been
the
checked
Broken
off.
Land. Oh, it's I double checked. I can even double check now if you'd like. But
That would
Yes.
make it
I'm
triple checking,
thinking.
but okay.
Yes, triple checking. Um, The Broken Lands by Fred Saberhagen,
Uh,
because that's a very different beast from Berserker.
Well, it would have to be. Um,
Oh, it
see
is.
there?
And it
Boo, boo,
is
boo.
that one's so Changeling Earth is on Appendix N, but not the first two books in the series, oddly enough. But those really should be there.
so the book you're suggesting is book one.
Yes, The Broken Lands.
It's here. I just
Yeah, I don't know
scanned the
why
list.
why he would skip to book three.
Probably because the other two may have been out of print by that time. Because I know that's a big reason why one or two books didn't get on there.
Um, was it an omnibus copy?
There are multiple omnibus copies of it under the title of Empire of the East.
Okay, no. I'm wondering if the one that they have in the thing listed because
Let me take a look. Um,
uh, as seen in the Fred Saberhagen. Saberhagen, Fred, Changeling Earth. At, hmm.
Granted as well, that's another piece of science fantasy, so I don't want to like burn you guys out on that too quickly.
Yeah, I think we added the other things on Fred's list here because they kept coming up and we were having trouble finding things.
Mhm.
Um, because we did Berserker. I think we only did Berserker because you wanted to do it
Yeah,
Shadow and not because it was on the
it's
list.
literally the case. I, 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 I've been that copy of Berserker has been in my collection for decades, and I just
Yeah,
never could bring myself to sit down and read it. And I said, you know what, screw it, let's just break for a
Oh,
bit. And
um, if it's too early for Saberhagen again, one that's lighthearted with some good emotional gut punches, and one that's not too science fantasy is Three Hearts and Three Lions. That one is superb.
by who?
Paul Anderson.
yeah, it's right at the top. I was just looking at that one. Have we read any of his books?
It's marked here. The Broken Sword was read down some time ago.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
that was like near the beginning.
Fair enough.
Um,
So that's at least an option.
if you can
We
find it, and
As a matter of fact, I'll not just find it. There's also an audiobook that's really good.
Okay.
Because the guy doing the audiobook does all the great voices, you see.
okay,
Send us the link, and that's what we'll do. Because I know that the next couple of weeks I've got a bunch of crap going on, so an audiobook would be kind of helpful, even though I
Oh
had
yeah.
so much fun just kicking back and reading an actual book. You know, lying on my ass for half dozen hours or so, just doing literally nothing else. No music, no videos playing in the background, just enjoying it. And I'm telling you, man, for me that does a lot to charge up my batteries. Being able to just sit and just do
Oh,
the one
I can
stupid,
adjust it if you can just put the link in there.
just
Oh,
doing the
I'm
one
doing so
thing.
right now. I just think I copied the ad that was playing in front of it first, and I'm like, I don't want to give you guys a Burger King ad. I want to give you guys Paul Anderson.
Okay.
There we go. I am
Well,
copying it now, pasting it now.
I
Bang.
recommend a browser plugin called Ad Blocker. I also recommend a browser plugin called Channel Blocker, and I also recommend a browser plugin called Unhooked. Um, Ad Blocker blocks ads. Channel Blocker adds a little X, so if you are sick and tired of seeing, oh, I don't
Lex
know,
Friedman.
Les Friedman or whatever, you hit the X, and that channel just never shows up in your feed ever again. Um,
Nice.
and it's a blacklist that you can go in and edit when you click on the plugin in plugins. And Unhooked disables various elements on the YouTube page. So if you don't want like the sidebar or uh, shorts or uh, I don't know, uh, end credit tags or whatever,
Hmm.
you can just shut that shit off and they won't pop up for you anymore.
Too bad I
Awesome.
can't shut off ad reads.
Yeah, well.
Yeah,
Well, you can't
but
have everything in life,
I
but
know.
why complain? We're going to be reading Three Hearts and Three Lions. Love that one. Love, love,
Okay.
love, love, love that one.
You know, so far you haven't recommended any stinkers, unlike myself, which I have. I admit it, but only because they were on the list. I don't think Berserker was a stinker. It was just, seriously a product of its time. And I do wholeheartedly stand by the belief that that book inspired a huge amount of science fiction that
It
would come
did.
later.
Like, it is one of
yes.
the first major man versus machine stories like that.
Mhm. The Death
What
Star.
Yeah.
I someone brought it up after we did it, and I was like on a YouTube podcast about writing, and I was like, yeah, that story that was ripped off by Harlan Ellison and then turned into an Outer Limits episode,
Hmm.
crediting Harlan Ellison. I wonder if Harlan Ellison ever tried suing Fred Saberhagen for ripping off Fred Saberhagen.
Yeah, like, okay, just so we're clear here, I adore A Boy and His Dog. I don't think Harlan Ellison was the devil, though I think he's off kilter on a few things. The first
Mhm.
time a company screws you over, okay, you got my empathy, that was bullshit. The 20th time it happens, this is not the exec's fault now, Harlan.
Yeah,
Well,
I, I
I'm
did. I did
morally
not like the
required to
man. I
dislike
saw an
him.
interview with him,
Like that.
and I despised him.
Yeah, I don't blame it. Again, he is really out to lunch. He did some up way.
Was
Words are useless, but otherwise, yeah, the guy needed an enema.
oy vey.
Oh, I get it.
Um, yeah. He wrote that episode of Star Trek where they go back in the past
Mhm.
because of a stone ring thing. Um, and Roddenberry had to like shit can his ass and rewrite half the episode because he wanted,
Starfleet don't use drugs.
yeah. And they still had already filmed parts where McCoy was like in the role of the cadet that was supposed to be up on space weed or some shit.
Mhm.
Uh, and there was supposed to be like a whole bunch of domestic violence and shit in that episode too.
Oh, new wave of science fiction.
Well, no, it was just Harlan Ellison being a
That's what I
degenerate.
meant. Way too much of the new wave is what you're describing there. People like shooting up and yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it was an attempt at dark humor and didn't work. I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
burned up all
well,
the Marion Simmer Bradley.
No worries.
well, no, we're okay with that. We're degenerates on this show. Shadow makes gay porn for a living. Like, fuck.
Some guy tricked him into making it. He didn't intend to do that.
Shut up.
Everyone knows
We
that.
we
I'm not
run
cutting
with
him.
Thanks,
we
Tanner.
run with that it was an intentional act. I warned him not to let the guy in.
And that is
After
fair.
that, it becomes an intentional act.
Okay.
I had no idea that was something that people.
I
would-
literally said he's going to get degenerate and you're going to regret it, Shadow. Don't let him in. When have I ever steered you wrong?
Yeah, but I
Never.
mean, we just had Brian in the chat here, and he is the epitome of the argument for why I let strangers in, because we met people like Brian the same way,
He's
and
also a degenerate and half the time has his dick out. He's just too lazy to put the fucking camera down that low.
You know, I hide my face. I think you guys know what it looks like behind this little guy from Metamorphosis Alpha, but I could be fully naked and you'll never know.
Yes.
yeah, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah, fully clothed.
that's not in your character makeup.
The worst I might do is like moon someone very quickly as like a gag for like their birthday, but like no, I would not whip my dick out on screen. That's stupid.
Yeah, I haven't even heard that expression in like 30 years.
I'm a very old soul. I'm certain you two will disagree.
Moon
He's
me.
poking me with the. No, I'm not gonna do it.
Moon me.
Yours is bigger. I cannot compete with that rapier. Oh no. All joking aside, though, funny you should mention the Death Star, because
This
part of the
rapier
reason I
will
was
quickly
thinking,
become a kebab.
indeed, yeah. So we're not. So we're all gonna mind our manners. Part of the reason I thought Broken Sword, Broken Lands, which I do think we should do after Zelazny or sometime after Zelazny, is that it's very much one of the novels that George probably read before making Star Wars. Underdog story, young man goes out to fight an evil empire, aided by mentors and his supernatural power, although...
Oh no, you don't know what he read before making Star Wars? You're
Oh, I
talking
know
about George
he read a
Lucas?
couple of those. I know he read
he
Edward...
read The Hero's Journey
That I know.
by fuck, what's his name?
Joseph Campbell. He also wrote
Joseph
Mask of
Campbell.
Gods and...
Yeah. And nothing else.
Oh no, he read a whole bunch more.
Shut up. Shut
No,
up. The
I
joke
will
is he read nothing else.
Justin,
'Cause
I understand the
he
joke.
follows it
I'm gonna shut
step
up.
by freaking step. It's not a literal shut up, bro.
I trust you there. It's just a personal thing. Some bad experiences in the past. We're getting really personal here. Shadow, is there anything else you'd like to say before we finish up for
He's
the
peeing.
I was looking for a book and I can't seem to find it. Oh, here it is.
It was right over there.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, because normally these size books are over there.
I know, but there
but-
is something funny about you getting up, turning behind you. Oh, there it is.
It's in his bald spot.
You ever read this one, Tanner?
Ooh, I own it, but I've not read it yet. I know that was a movie that the brothers had wanted to make. No one in Hollywood would buy it, and so they said, nuts to it, we'll just make a novel. So absolutely, we should read that at some point.
Yeah. I'm on page. Okay, there's no page numbers. Okay, 87.
I'm on 0 page.
Well, there's two pages with no page numbers on them, back to back, 86 and 87. No, not what the hell?
It's
How
really
did it jump
86
so-
the page numbers.
No, it's
86ing means that you get rid of something or
no,
cancel it.
it's page 85 and
It means
84
you
because
kill
86,
someone.
86 is actually the no. It's anyways. I started rereading this, and I'm going to take this one downstairs because as a youngster, this was like huge when it first came out. Mind you, the fact that the brothers, did the iconic Star Wars poster, and then they decided to try their hand at writing a fantasy novel. Very much the hero's journey, with a lot of cool little things in it, tons of their artwork, and they wrote it. And these were two guys who literally they were twins.
Oh yeah.
I probably told this before. But according to the rumors and the legends of the Hildebrand brothers, one brother would sleep while the other one would be drawing or painting, and then when the other one would wake up, he would finish the art.
Yeah, or
They were like connected in that way, the twinsy weirdness. Um,
I
well,
feel very deeply for the Hildebrandt family because one of them sadly passed away a couple months back, and
oh, really?
the world is a much quieter, stupider, less happy place without him.
Yeah, I think this one wasn't as goofy as Lynn Carter's book, but it wasn't. It's
They
no
have ray
Lord of the
guns in that
Rings.
one, right?
It's no what?
They've got
the
ray guns in
Hildebrand
Urshock, right?
Yeah, they do.
brothers.
They do have ray guns. Uh, but they also have an evil lord and a witch, and all the a ranger, and I mean it's so Lord of the Rings, but not. It's got fuzzies, like
Oh, nice fuzzies. Honestly, and no slag to the people who genuinely enjoy the series I'm about to roast watching this. There's a happier timeline where that got a ton of sequels as opposed to Shannara or fuck, what was the other one I was gonna roast?
Are you talking about the H. Beam Piper fuzzies?
Yeah, I assume that's
Okay.
what you meant. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the
Okay.
fuzzies. I make no. They were in Ultima 3.
Really were they?
Oh,
Okay.
dude, yeah. In because in the first three Ultima games, they let you pick your species besides being a human, and they did
Yeah,
bring
I
back
play.
the
I
concept
remember.
for
I remember
underworld.
playing those games, which
Yes,
I
and
had a lot of fun.
in three,
Uh,
they gave you the option to play a fuzzy.
I don't remember that.
I'll link you for proof.
Ultima.
Okay, but yeah,
And
I'm gonna take that book downstairs to start reading in what little spare time I will have over the next couple of weeks. Because because the only thing that was missing for making this a perfect read through was a fucking pack of cigarettes. Just saying. In my next life, I'm still gonna smoke. Um,
I thought you were going to heaven.
well,
I get
I
you.
before I actually die. I mean, you know,
The book.
when I change my
Frustrating.
identity and uh, anyways, are you still here, Brian? We were reading the aforementioned Warriors of World's End, but we were talking about Ursharak because there are a couple of fuzzy, or at least a fuzzy on the cover. Um, and then we were talking about Ultima 3 and the H. Beam Piper fuzzy novels, which I think I actually picked up a couple at the.
I
Uh,
finally managed to get the first one a few weeks back, so I'm like, yes, little fuzzies.
but
What?
I also
Honestly, the
scored.
fuzzies would probably fit just right in uh the World's End series. They probably would be one of the more
Yeah,
normal
okay, I
inhabitants.
could see that. I also just picked up uh, cigarettes, Marlboro Reds. Brian, I just picked up book 1, 2, and 3 other Babylon 5 books from my local Salvation Army, plus
Hmm.
another paperback copy of Starship Troopers, just so I can have another copy of Starship Troopers. Uh,
Yeah. I'm gonna have to start picking up books, like physical books.
yeah, you know, at worst case scenario, uh, I know I can put them on eBay or Amazon or whatever and double or triple my money in a year or two. I know for a fact that I can do that. Just looking at the prices of books on there now, if I keep them in good shape, I got a bunch of bags, paperback book bags, just for that. Um, you know, it may be a little bit of work to get the money back if I don't have a shop, but
The
at the same
Bulgaria, that's what I was going to roast earlier. There's a happier world where Ursharok gets a ton of sequels as opposed to Shannara or the Belgariad.
Oh, I
Bulgaria.
just picked up one of those books. Are they crap?
They're not. I don't love them. Other people do. The author's another guy like. Well, what he did wasn't as bad as Bradley, but it's still. Yeah, fuck that guy.
Okay, okay. I
What
won't
did
be.
he do?
Um, Not to bring down the mood right near the end.
Just out with
He
him,
and his
man.
wife. I'm doing. I just don't want to kill him. He and his wife adopted some kids who they abused very regularly. They kept him in like children's pens and beat him and stuff like that.
Okay.
They got found out, got thrown in the slammer for a bit,
I
and then later on he wrote the books. They don't like ruin the books, but there's one or two passages where it's like, ooh, that's where it comes from.
Yeah,
Sheesh.
as a matter of fact, I remember reading about him when I was reading about Bradley,
Hmm.
um, because there were a bunch of writers like that in that circle, if you will,
Oh yeah.
that era, that were fucked up in the head
Hmm.
and don't buy their books. So I will proceed to toss that one in the
Well,
round file
give it a
when I go
read.
downstairs.
Give it a read and see if you like it or not. It's like don't let me dictate what book to or
No, no,
not
no,
to
no, no,
write.
no. It's not a matter of what you said. You reminded me that I read
I
the same
see.
thing. I just didn't realize he had written a book that I own, and I will not do anything that might even resemble, uh, promoting
I will
his
say
efforts.
this: it's a little bit concerning. Me being a bit of a Carter and an Anderson. I know they were parts of Saga as well, so I'm like, okay, what were these two getting up to?
Carter and Anderson.
Uh, Lynn Carter and Paul Anderson.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were part of Saga.
Hmm. A lot of
Uh,
thieves as well.
what?
Yeah, they're big. Anderson at least wrote a lot of Thieves World stuff.
Yes. Why did what's his name that created Thieves World do anything?
Oh, Robert Aspen? I don't think so. No.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
Um,
there's
I
any
just got the Thieves World. Where is it?
if there's anyone on the list that you know has been like a pedo, uh,
Tanner.
tag tag them because we just
yeah,
won't
that
cover
seems.
their work.
Oh, the box set with the all the game systems in it. Good.
Yes.
Somebody
I can't
actually
stand
sent
Thieves
this to
World.
me a
Good
couple
on 'em.
months back.
I cannot
Yeah.
stand Thieves World for shit, and even I'm impressed by that box.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
in mint, and
Nice.
I loved it. I wasn't a huge fan of Thieves World, but I love the concept of writers getting together and doing
Yeah.
something like
Thieves
that.
World is like it's the kind of thing where like I'll read about a character like that. I think he's a minstrel, a badass minstrel that like Anderson wrote, or that one like thieving necromancer who eats corpses. And I'm like, fuck, this should be so cool. And then I read it, and I'm just like, please make it stop. I don't. I think it's the writing style. I think it might be the. I don't know. It's just I start,
Yeah,
and I'm just like, I just stop. Again,
yeah.
no qualms to those who like it, but I like my fantasy a little bit more free willing, free written. I don't know.
I'm that way with like epistolary. Like if things are epistolary in in nature, I'm like, even Dracula is like, do I
it's
have
one of.
to? Do I?
You know what? Did you ever finish it?
Yes, I finished Dracula. I've actually uh, read the book twice and listened to it like three times. It's just,
Yeah, I'm
when
right
I
there
need to
with you.
reference it, I'm back. But
It's got to be
it's
hard to write. It's got to be really, really hard to write something like that.
in
But
letters. Actually, no. Apparently, it's easier because you're leaving out a lot of stuff because it's just referencing things
yeah, but I
through
feel like you have
letters.
to get into like a completely different frame of mind for a whole bunch of different things when you're writing it. But
Not for
Yeah.
nothing. I do like Dracula. I do think it's a good novel, but I prefer Through a Glass Darkly better and Carmilla. Take that out, you
Yeah.
I'm one of those
I
guys.
don't know either
I
of
like to
us.
give
So
credit where credit is due. It's been such a huge part of modern culture, believe it or not. Uh,
the story is great, but
will.
like it's just that particular style of writing.
That would
Like
be not to slag Bram Stoker. I'm slagging a lot of people tonight. I'm sorry. He
it's
is
okay.
the thing with him is that even back in the day, a lot of his writing was considered a little trashy. I disagree, but like it's and this is doing him a big disservice. He was kind of the Dan Brown of his day.
hmm.
No, Dan Brown is actually not that bad of a writer.
Fair. That's
Um,
absolutely fair. I'll take that.
it's just he writes like on trashy subjects. Like,
Yes,
and
that
I'm
is
sorry,
Brim's
but
number.
there is no time in history that numerology will not be trashy. Dan Brown, and you bring this on yourself.
Yeah.
Uh, he wrote
Mhm.
the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say Inquest, but that's the wrong. That's a TV show about a police cop
Yeah. But
in
as time has
Vancouver.
gone on, and the book has outlived its critics, that's where it kind of went from trash to class, and
Yeah. Well, that
that's
happened with like the whole genre, right? Like
mhm.
that's like obviously a century earlier than when pulp became.
Mhm.
But it was really the
Uh,
pulp of its day. I mean,
Was
yes,
it
it
like
was
that?
actually,
Was it
literally.
was it part of the
kinda.
Penny Dreadful era?
It was not a penny dreadful, but it was connected to that era. Both of them were definitely in the later stages of the Gothic movement, and
Okay,
not to go full history lesson on you, like
right.
Gothic is really it's not just the birth of what we would know as pulps later, but it's also very much the answer to the whole sort of enlightened you know we're scientifically minded. We don't need to have emotions or worry about things. And Gothic and
Yeah.
Romanticism's like, no, 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 no. It's like, there's stuff that really important stuff you're leaving out here. So that's
Yes.
why they're so lush literature.
Well, yeah, and that there is like I was watching a thing on what was the term the guy used? It was there was a term used for like the sparseness of the writing and the verboseness, but that those weren't.
Victorian?
No, like that there are ebbs and flows of like having plain written language over flowery language, um, and that was like one of those time periods where it was switching.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'll find the video and link it to you on Discord.
Okay.
Awesome.
Uh,
Thanks.
I'll just put it in the group chat if I find it.
Yeah.
It's like a 2 hour talk between these two guys, and the
One
one guy
final note
makes.
on Warriors of World's Ends that I've thought of is that this is probably pretty close to what would happen if Hanna-Barbera or Ruby Spears ever made a Red Sonja cartoon. Like, if you look at the description of
Oh,
the landscape and you put on, like, the Inhumanoids, or not Inhumanoids, what is the name of that?
Herculoids.
Herculoids, thank
Herculoids.
you. It's and there should be no surprise that because Gwendolyn Carter's first big breaks in the '60s was working on Ralph Bakshi's Spider-Man cartoon.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he and Ralph were actually really close buddies. I think they both bonded over their love of fantasy, and I want to say Lynn befriended Gary Gygax later on,
Okay.
which is probably how it ended up in Appendix N.
So one of the last questions we always ask when we read one of these Appendix N books: uh, would you recommend it to anybody, Justin?
Oh,
Understanding that it is nowhere near a perfect book, that it
if
is
they
a
were
very sloppily
if
put together book. Yep.
if they were over 50, if they were over 50, yes.
What about someone really young? Like
That's who I recommend it
No.
to as baby's first fantasy. Or not baby's first
Mm,
fantasy, but like when you're ready to start digging into Appendix N. Before
yeah,
you kind
yeah,
of
yeah. Like if you had a nephew or something, and you found out they'd read Tolkien and were into that kind of crap, would you? Not that Tolkien's crap, but you know what I mean.
no, I wouldn't, because story structure is more developed in modern writing.
yes.
And it's all got to do with like the understanding of like structural makeup of storytelling. And a lot of people during this time period had no concept of how to structure a story. They needed somebody to lobotomize them, then take the most simple of like Freytag's pyramid or something, and put it into a blender and pour it down a funnel into the hole that was just drilled into their head, because like no fucking structural sense in a lot of the books during this time period.
Hmm. They're very
Um,
much written in that short story model,
well,
or series of
escalate,
short
drop off to nothing. Escalate, drop off to nothing. It's not even the Fichton
That
cycle.
would be the series of short story problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Well,
say you need
like
to
I
know what you're
said,
reading.
this book. Sorry, this book was not a short story problem. This book was like there's no
I know how to
midpoint or
do it.
resolution to anything brought up.
This is what hi Jax. This is what the South Park guys, warts and all, warn when they say make sure your story isn't and then this happened and then this happened and then this happened. And even though we all enjoyed this, this is very much the definition of and then this happened.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you
Uh,
understand that and you're going into that, and you kind of
yeah.
understand you're dipping your toe into pure madness, I would recommend this book.
What's up,
At
Jax?
the
Long time no see. Or is
at,
this the
Yeah.
first time?
at the very I think he's been here before. Hey buddy. I would at least
Yeah.
say if not for its own sake and if not for the humor in this, definitely for things you can use in your Arduin, Gamma World, or AD&D campaign.
Yeah,
Be it
I really think this was way more a Gamma World book than a
oh yeah.
D&D book.
Funny thing is that I think in the next book they actually mention a kingdom that still uses coins as opposed to like uranium rods, and
Mhm.
you'll never guess the order of the coins listed: bronze, silver, gold, electrum, and platinum. Verbatim.
Yeah. I
Nice.
am not going to any world that uses uranium as a coinage.
Well, uranium rods, but I do know there's mention that they
It
exchange like
doesn't matter
scientific
the shape
goods
of the coin. I am not putting uranium nuggets of any kind or shape in my pocket.
anywhere near your crotch.
Full stop.
Yeah.
I will bring Shadow as my coin carrying boy with me to carry
Yeah,
them
who you
for
calling
me.
boy? Um,
Hey, hey, after you get that hard uranium Q radiation in your pocket,
But yes, if you need an
you will be
unusual job
avoided.
for a NPC, if you need a city you can dust off and put in, and I assure you, the city of Chicks in book 2 or 3 is superbly written. It is absolutely perfect for a setting like this.
I am
Um,
definitely looking forward to the rest of these books. I'm
mhm,
going to have to go do a dive and find out the
likewise.
titles of the rest and put them on my watch list. I've been noticing because it is spring slash almost summertime. It's summer already here. That every time I find an item on eBay and I watch it, within 24 hours they're making me a deal. They're making me an offer. Hey, we'll sell it to you for this price. I usually have to decline, but for those of you who are interested in shopping around, doing the eBay thing, this is prime time to pick up some of those things you've been looking for, because people are ready to drop a 10% off whatever the price was pretty readily. It's
Mhm.
been interesting. Unfortunately, it's the end of the month for me, so my liquid funds are evaporated.
Yeah. I think this is the talk.
So I'm going to
This
conclude this part of the book club meeting. Tanner, you don't have to go anywhere. We noticed last week you scurried off like real quick. We usually hang out. We usually do like 3 hours,
2 or 3. Yeah.
2 or 3. Yeah,
The second half is bullshitting.
yeah, yeah. So if you
I,
want to hang, you're always welcome. Um,
I make fun of the
Absolutely,
chosen people.
it's just I've said my piece or most of my pieces on the book. I've had a good 90 minutes. Unless we're playing a game or something, I don't always love sitting for 3 hours just talking. Um, I mean,
no
what's the
worries.
topic for tonight?
No worries.
No,
You do you, man. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for
Um,
having me.
we'll
nobody's
do this
holding you
again in
here.
2 weeks with Three Hearts, Three Lions.
Yep.
I've
You guys
always
are
been
perfect.
intrigued, but I've also also been a little worried that it was going to be a little too Arthurian for me.
It's actually not Arthurian. It's Charlemagnian.
Okay, I
Charlemagne.
was going to say or Charlemagne, but I've actually I'm okay with that. I got to knock it off the list anyways, and
The
you know,
funny thing is that there's several old podcasts that discuss Appendix N, and most of them don't love it. But everyone else who I've talked to generally either likes it or really likes it. Personally, I think it's one of the best in the entire appendix. But if it's not to your taste, then I'll absolutely take the blame for that one. Yes, sir.
No, 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 no.
there have been other books along those lines that a couple surprised me, a couple did not, um,
Um,
and they can't all be winners like this one.
yeah. So Tanner, if there are any books that you think should be on that list that aren't, or that shouldn't be on that list that are, feel free to remove them.
Okay.
Just leave a note saying you did, so I don't think I'm losing my mind that things are disappearing or appearing.
Yeah, I
Um,
prefer. I'd rather you didn't take anything off the original list,
I'll try
just
not to.
until we get to it. Because
well, I say that because when I was creating it, I went like wide breadth with
yeah, I know
the writers that were like just this author and whatever the
everything
like.
they
There's
ever
no,
did.
yeah,
Mhm.
everything they ever did. Um, I did try to keep the stuff before 77 because that's
Mhm.
when the list was actually published.
Yeah,
Um,
that's it.
79 actually. There was in Dragon
no,
Magazine 4 there was a appendix N, but uh,
the first edition of AD&D was 77, wasn't it?
Monster Manual was released in 77. Then the Player's Handbook a year later, and then the Dungeon Master's Guide a year later. There's Articles of Dragon, which are just
No, but
DMG excerpts.
Appendix N was in
The DMG.
the DMG.
Yes, and that was 79. So
Mm,
you're allowed a little leeway.
my copy was 77. Well, the copy in the
Interesting.
thing, I'm pretty sure it was 77. Nonetheless, doesn't really matter one way or the other.
Yes,
Um,
I'm more likely to add something connected or from the inspirational
yeah,
source material from BX onto this than remove. And even then, I'm
yeah.
holding off so I don't go completely off the deep end. Like the Tritonian ring here under Elspark Camp, I added that some time back. That's not on Appendix N, but it's one of those that probably should be, which is why it's got a little question mark there. Um,
Okay. And if there are any authors on that list that you know were pedos, just put that tag next to them because we're just not going to do anything by them.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't think any to my knowledge, I don't think any of these guys actually are predators. Thankfully, some on ISM absolutely were, and I'll absolutely ream them in the comments. But looking over this, there's no one who's a sicko who uh, is on here that, to my knowledge.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Because that's our policy.
Absolutely, like I don't. Philip Jose Farmer was a wonderful family man. And Androfa was a wonderful family man. I've heard no peep about them doing anything nasty in their personal life, so they're probably good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If not,
Well,
egg on my face.
we can only judge by what we know, not what
Yes,
people make up
precisely.
um, or would like to have been. Uh, okay.
The only
And
ones I'd recommend really dropping here, and this is not because I'm not the biggest fan of the series, this is strictly professional opinion here. Um, the last two books in the Lankmar series, Swords and Ice Magic and The Knight and Knave of Swords, those ones are a pretty big step down in quality. So unless you guys want to read the story where the Grey Mouser is in a closet, watching a lady whip one of her underlings and he's getting excited, I don't entirely recommend those ones.
Hmm.
uh,
It's funny. I actually have a copy of Night and Knave right there that was given to me many, like 40 years ago.
Oh wow.
Maybe not quite 40. That I never finished. And I had a hard time getting through it. The Curse of the Stars and the Smalls. I was just like, where's this
Okay.
going? But I am going to reread all the Fafhrd Grey Mouser,
Fair enough.
just so I can say I did it and know where he intended it to end. Just cause I might not drag you guys through that mud, but I
If you think we should read it, we will join you that for reading it.
well,
Yes, you could always skip that week.
yeah, I part of the thing is, we tend to like if we're going to redo an author, we kind of wait a while, like we did with Zelazny. We're going to do with Lieber and Moorcock and things like that, just so it doesn't appear that we're just going to friggin' just go do nothing but that, and that gives people the opportunity to go, well, I don't like that author, so I guess I won't be watching the show for three,
I
six
get you.
weeks.
And it's important to have this on a good rotation.
Exactly, and try to make through as many of the books on the small list in the DMG before we go too hog wild. But the birthday thing is a thing, just so that
Yeah, I
when
was
it's your
about to
birthday
mention that.
month, you get to pick something that's not on the list, just so we can have a little palate cleanser,
Absolutely.
or read something a little more modern, or something that's completely not Dungeons and Dragons related, or came later, or,
Yeah,
or whatever. Just as long as it's a good read,
Yeah.
don't be recommending any crap, and we'll all be fine, right?
yeah. I was going to mention that as well. So, whenever the month you were born in, Tanner, just let us know, and we'll
January.
January.
No, so it's
Okay,
going to be a while.
Oh, yeah.
January. Okay,
About
I treated
and
earlier.
I'm in July, so mine will be in a couple of months.
Excellent.
Um,
What are you going to pick? Or are you want to keep that a secret?
I was gonna give a list of 2 or 3 books,
Fair.
and just let you guys pick from that.
Awesome.
Things
Can't
that are
wait.
more modern, 90s, early 2000s, that kind of stuff. Uh, I was thinking the first of the Empire of Man books would be on that list.
Hmm,
If you've read any David Weber or John Ringo,
not yet, no.
no. Yeah. The first of that series would be the one I'd most lean to, but or the first of Ringo's. What was that series called? Fuck, because he had the big iron ball thing that was kind of a battle station. Oh, what was that series called? It doesn't matter. There's a couple of them. I'll propose a list when it comes to
Of
the
course.
beginning of July, and give you a
Uh,
synopsis on what those books are about.
I'm going to mention in a note, but know that I am adding to the Jack Williams section, and if something doesn't fit, just say so.
Yeah. Oh,
All right, splendid. You guys have yourselves a good one.
okay.
You
Have
do.
a
I'll
good
see
night.
you in a couple days, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um, for oh yeah, I'm gonna need to send my orders for the coming week soon.
Yes. Hey, what's up, James?
Oh, Berserk, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful pick. Wonderful
Yeah.
story. That one I think Gary would have loved.
Party on, man.
Doing,
Party on.
Tanner? What's up, James?
Hey.
I've been meaning to actually read the Berserk manga, but it means I got to buy it, and
Find it online and pirate the fuck out of it.
might do.
Oh,
So you
where
got your
did
God War stuff ready?
Oh no. Well, I've got a few things already selected, but
Yeah. Well, I rolled up the random events, and I'll be handing those out in week 1, 2, or 3, or 4, depending on what you guys got. It was weird. There was a lot of like duplicates, which is cool because it'll help me come up with the title for the next "Living the Dream." Same here, man. It helps me, come up with the title for that week. The
yeah.
name of the chapter, if you will. But yeah, it's There's a lot of weird things I wasn't expecting doing this. I wish James and Hungar weren't so tight because then they both would have been playing instead. It's Hungar, but James, next time we do this, you have to make sure your brother like lets you in. He like sits on the sideline next time, or maybe we'll do the because I'm going to do another play by post game, which is going to be a
Yeah,
sci-fi, empire building game, but with more buying and trading and that sort of thing. Because there's none of that in the God Wars, because it just seemed out of place and unnecessary with magic being a thing. The first thing your god would do would be to make sure you have food, so you didn't have to, you know, rub elbows with those filthy elves or those, awful hobbits or whatever. Uh,
yeah. Well, it's still like we're playing above that level, right? Like
mhm.
I just assume that stuff is going on by rote.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
and like there's several undersea kingdoms, so I'm assuming they're not trading with anybody and they're getting their food because it's all fish or seaweed, and
yeah. They just open up their maws and letting the plankton fly in.
they open their front door of their seashell house and dinner comes floating in. But with the sci-fi game, there'll be more of the traditional, uh, dirty dealings and things like that. I just haven't got quite the
Instead
feel
of
for
gods, it's corporations that think they're
it's
gods.
something like that. Yeah, and George has already started making art that might be appropriate for it, so that was cool. I
Yeah,
think he's really just making art for his Star Wars game, but I'll steal it if I can.
yeah. Oh, I got my character.
Yeah, I got
Let me.
mine too. I tried inviting Jackie, but he's like, "I'm going to be busy." I'm like, "It's summer vacation, probably. I'm still going to be."
Uh, yeah, I got my character.
Jackie's always been a big Star Wars fan, and I thought
Yeah.
he'd get into
Uh,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Here, here.
what do you got for me here? Oh,
Yeah,
you already working on it. Wow.
I got my character.
Is he wearing
Yeah,
a fez?
he's wearing a fez,
Oh my god.
and I even got my Chewbacca right here. There's my
Okay.
Chewbacca.
And what's the next image I see there? Your Princess
Uh,
Leia.
hot chick, hot chick, hot chick, hot chick. Book cover, book cover, book cover, book cover. Hey, I recognize her. That's her hot. Uh, during the show, I was like, uh, "What's the outline to this book we're talking about at World's End or whatever it was called?"
Mhm.
And then, "What's that stupid chick? Generate me a picture of that stupid night chick." And it gave me those last two images.
Okay.
But yeah.
I
Oh no! I couldn't remember the name of the illusionist, so I asked
oh,
ChatGPT. I was like, eh,
okay.
"What's
That's pretty amazing
ChatGPT
how
for?"
quick it can do like a lot of crazy shit. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it can. It can do a lot of crazy shit. It did give me the name. It started with an N. I don't remember what it is now because it was stupid somehow.
no, it's right here. It's on the map actually.
Uh, is it
Yeah, because they show his tower. His name was Neuralon.
Neuralon?
I believe that's him.
Nurgalon? Yeah, that's him, the illusionist.
But I
Yes, I
couldn't
see it
decide whether I
there.
wanted to make a droid bounty hunter or a Jedi for George's game.
You can play the lizard man.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
That guy's fucking cool. Look, you don't like the lizard man?
It's not that. Um, I was just talking about how back in the late '70s, I think it was, TSR put out this thing called a Rogues Gallery, and it was just a
Yeah.
bunch of NPCs with very little art. But one of the pieces of art was this really cool lizard man, and from that point on, for like the rest of that year, because I was running games as a paid DM, every fifth or sixth player that came to the table, I want to play this guy. So I got like really burnt on, playing the cool lizard man.
Did he
Uh,
look this cool? Did he? Did he look that cool? Let's see if I can make this bigger. Oh no! Can I not? Can I not click on it? I'm pretty sure it opens up bigger. Stop sharing. No, I don't need to save it. I need to share the bigger version. Damn you! Sharing does not work that well. It's a bigger version.
his name was Phoebus. I don't know. I'm trying to find an image of him.
Yeah. Oh, that's ChatGPT. TSR was it?
Yeah, TSR's Rogues Gallery, first edition, AD&D. I don't know why I can't find the damn image of him. That's weird.
TSR's Rogues Gallery, first edition, AD&D, Lizardman artwork.
And his name is Phoebus.
P H O E what?
Phoebus.
B U S of do, 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 do.
And it'll be a black and white image.
I got one in color.
Yeah, that's not the image I want to see because
1982.
I believe so.
I'm gonna pop it up, and you tell me if it's the right image or not.
Okay.
Uh,
Nope.
nope. Okay.
It was a black and white image.
Yes. But I was wondering if maybe.
And I actually have that card. That card was like series 2 or 3 of the D&D player aid cards that came out. It was like 10 or 12 or 15 cards in a pack that you could use to show your players.
Was he holding the trident?
I believe so.
Do. Was it this image?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Might be. That looks very familiar. Also looks like uh, Trampierre's work. I could be wrong though. But
It has a D
AT.
with it 80. So someone that signed their name with a D, and in the year 1980. Hey, off grid.
What's up, man?
It says it's from the Rogues Gallery in this.
Then that's probably it. Yeah, I never got the packs off grid. I actually got the factory sets, and I now regret getting rid of them when I did because someone sent me when I bought I bought chainmail, a reprint, and they sent it with a bunch of photocopied. Mind you, it was a reprint, a brand new reprint of Chainmail, but it came with a bunch of photocopies of not character sheets, but army list sheets and some other photocopies from back in the day. But the guy also sent me three cards from the sets, and two out of the three were paladins, and one was a mimic. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. They were the second edition cards, and every card, uh, had information on the back that you could use as a dungeon master, which was actually pretty cool. But like a bonehead, I got rid of them, but I still have like the spell cards and the encounter cards and some of the other box sets from 2E that I never used, but I still got.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying. I think I think my lizard man is cooler looking, even
Well, your
though
Lizard Man is in color and a little bit more modern style, but for the time that every Tom, Dick, and Harry was trying to run that character. He's a 10th level fighter, for starters,
yeah,
with an 18 strength, a 17 or 18 dex, and an 18 or 17 con. You can't ask for more badassery, as a Lizard Man character because Lizard Men are normally just two hit die creatures, which means 2 to 16 hit points and off with their head. But here comes this guy, strutting down the freaking boulevard, trident in hand, you know, rocking 80 plus hit points, you know, uh, and not needing anything, self sufficient as long as he's, got two arms and two legs and a jaw, you know, functioning. He doesn't need armor, doesn't need anything. He's just like ready to go.
yeah. I just think mine's cooler looking.
Well,
I'm gonna give him a freaking bazooka.
well, I mean, you made him, so you should feel that way.
I didn't make him. My robot did.
You know what I
I
mean?
said, I said, I have a Han Solo character. I need a Chewbacca, but a lizard man. Those were my instructions for that character.
What's wrong,
You
buddy?
know what? I got a Chewbacca, but a lizard man.
Good choice. Good choice. You could have gone with Insectoid.
No, insectoids are wrong.
I tend to agree.
When you start the genocide of the alien races, you start with the insectoids. It's what I learned from Starship Troopers. And then you move on to the skinnies. And then anything else you find.
Yeah, I personally, off grid, I found it more like the '90s was kind of the beginning of the end for me. When all around me, that's when all the game shops except Brooker's Hobbies, which is still there and it's been around for probably my entire lifetime. All the other shops just closed up. Even the comic book shops,
Yeah.
they're all gone. And we've got a couple relatively nearby, but they don't sell anything remotely game wise other than Magic and
Yeah. I think I
Yu
think it
not
was around
Pokemon and
2003. 2003 or so. The game store I went to in high school closed. Maybe a little earlier than that. 2002. I was still in high school in the early 2000s. Like the early 2000s. The second. One second, let me check. The Phantom Menace had come out, but I don't think the second Star Wars had come out. Was that Attack of the Clones?
I believe so.
Uh, Yeah, Attack of the Clones hadn't come out yet when I graduated. So, 2001, 2002. That was the summer of 2002. No, when did it come out? Oh, does it say? Mm, Max? No.
That's why I'm a little leery about opening a shop without having
Maybe it just come out.
other avenues of income to said shop.
Well, it's like I said. If you've got the money, I don't know what your expenses are, but if you got the money, find a strip mall. They got those in Texas.
Mhm.
You would have been best to have bought it like 3 years ago when the real estate would have been fucking cheap during the tail end of COVID.
Yeah,
Even if you had just left it empty for a couple of years.
yeah, off grid. That's one of the reasons why I keep picking up stuff that's old because there's always going to be a market for that until it completely just dries up, and only the wealthiest of collectors have picked up everything, and everything else has ended up in a landfill. Which is the other thing I'm trying to do is prevent that from being a thing. I know someday it
Yeah.
will. Um,
Um, and a side business. I don't know how you would set that up, but there is quite a thing of what Amazon does is like lockers.
mhm.
So they do these like regional lockers where
Mhm. Oh
instead of
yeah, I've seen
delivering
them.
to your house,
Uh, Not only do
yeah,
they do it, but I think Home Depot does it.
yeah,
I usually
um,
see them in front of things like 7-Elevens and stuff like that, where it's
yeah.
just right out
So
front. And if you've got the key or whatever, or the code, and you go there and you pop it in and you get your package. And
yeah, so you could like see if they would set one of those things up
mhm.
like that. That's a rental space, right? Um,
The obligatory vending machines and stuff like
yeah,
that.
a vending machine hall, an arcade hall, like the laundry mat is one of those things that apparently it's a big upfront cost because those machines are pricier than
Oh yeah,
yeah they're like a small car each um, because they're meant to be so robust.
yeah.
But once you've got them, they're pretty much self-sustaining. You just have to go in and collect the coins and
Do the maintenance and clean them and
yeah, it's just
things like
like,
that.
hey, this machine's down or whatever, and you run in and do a clean run every night or whatever, or twice a day, and you got the vending machine for the soap and shit like that. The little single use Tide boxes or whatever.
Mhm.
Um,
A
yeah,
lot of times they're bottles as well.
yeah, whatever. Um, it doesn't really matter. Uh, you have a whole bunch of those different machines because people like different stuff and it's
Mhm.
money. You could even have like the convenience store that just if your laundromat user is smart, they run over to the convenience store and buy the full bottle of Javax or whatever they're fucking
Yeah,
washing their fucking
we've
clothes.
got in where I live, we've got a lot of these water stores where they just
Yeah,
it's a big filter or several big filters, and you just get your filtered water there. But
yeah,
most of them, except the one we go to the most, is like a convenience store with very Latin and Asian centered products, which is kind of weird because they're all like hyperinflated prices, but yet
yes. They're those stores are not meant for the actual. migrants. They're meant for the hipsters that like buying
Yeah, because they sell a
foreign
lot of like
products. Lorder.
they sell a lot of like herbal remedies and things that I'm sure
Yeah.
have no approvals on them whatsoever.
So they're like the ravens or whatnot. No
I,
offense, Raven, but
the
you're
Latino
our
culture is
community.
very, very superstitious. They sell a lot of um, like charm bracelets and
Yeah,
crystals, and pre-bagged crystals, to bring you good
yeah,
luck. And
but not just the Latin culture, also the woo woo culture, right?
sure.
And they tend to throw more money around than
Mhm.
you'd expect. Um, we used to have a store just over there um, that was not a store. It was Mama's Pizza, and it was like a little old Italian lady with a pizza oven, and then the other half of the store wasn't like seating because they couldn't have a seated restaurant because there was no publicly accessible bathroom, and that's like by law in
Mhm.
all of North America. Um, so instead of being a sit down restaurant where you get a slice of pizza, you could buy your slice of pizza and leave. They had like a picnic bench outside, or you could buy a pizza, but the other half of the store was like a very truncated convenience store. So
Mhm.
you could pick up like a bag of milk, a loaf of bread, and maybe like some pop or whatever, and some like light candies. Nothing super heavy.
Mhm.
That would work if you didn't have like
I
the
still laugh
space.
every time I hear a bag of milk.
Yeah, bag of
It's
milk.
so weird to us.
Yeah, you get an extra quart, and it's less space in the fridge technically, and a little more awkward. And you're not opening all of the milk at once, so it stays. You only open like because it comes in three separate pouches.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I miss the old milkman delivery.
yeah.
When I was a very young lad, we had milk delivery and ice cream and cheese and bread and butter. All those things. First thing in the morning, you know, parents would be yelling at me, go get the milk. It'd be right there on the front porch, just sitting there
Mhm.
in big old glass bottles. I love those. Much more awkward. What's up, Dungeon Minister?
Much more awkward. Yeah, it can be, but it stays fresh longer. And if you have the shelves on your fridge, like we do this, the bottom shelf is low, so it's like the little higher than the bag, the full bag. Uh, so it just slides in there, and then you got a little bit of space for I don't know, Tupperware container or two.
Yeah, I would want to get some old timey glass bottles and pour it in there as quick as
That
possible.
would be fucking annoying.
Really.
No, because they're literally it's like if you had um like the Ziploc, like the cheap Ziploc bags
Uh huh.
of plastic, but done with the heat shrink full of milk, and it's like you know, like about a foot or so by 4 inches wide and like full. Um, but they have these like special jugs that are designed to go. The bag just slides in, then you cut the corner off and you pour. So it it's just a thing.
That's weird.
But the bags biodegrade faster, and they don't take up as much material as a jug.
Yeah, I can see all that.
So yeah, and that's the kind of environmentalism I approve of. Kind that isn't bullshit.
Yeah. Um, I no longer. The only recycling I'm in favor of here is we've got the green bin. We've got three separate freaking trash cans from the city and ones for recyclables. Plastic bottles, cardboard boxes, crap like that. Just as long as there's something in there, we don't get a ticket or whatever it is they do when you don't do that.
Mhm.
Because we used to save up like aluminum cans and 2-liter bottles, and then we'd fill the back of the vehicle after we'd spend like an hour or two getting all the stuff ready, putting it in the car, then taking it down, all for $20. On the only day available was Saturday, which meant every other Saturday or once a month Saturday, we'd be spending 2 to 4 hours doing that, waiting in line, doing the bullshit, just to get a $20 bill when I could have just
Mm,
thrown it all in the other bin and had my whole Saturday wide open.
yeah. Um, Dungeon Minister, be smart. Take your jug, turn it upside down, and take the power drill to it, and you'll never have that problem. It, if you the bag is like a
Tight.
plastic bag, and the jugs are all plastic, you can buy a fancy metal one or something like
So
this.
yeah, it creates like a seal.
It creates a seal, so you either have to tap it a bunch of times, um, or just poke a hole in the bottom of the jug because they're all injection molded, right? So they're as cheaply made as possible.
The straw
Um,
idea works as well, I bet.
yeah, but then you have to fiddle with it. Um, yeah, but no, and then just because the bag is like a rectangle, just put your thumb on the back end when you're doing the first pour, and it's never a problem because there's like this much of the bag that is always above the top of the jug.
Yeah, okay. Um, I think I'd go with Dungeon Minister's thing because I, 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 I don't like leaks in my refrigerator.
Yeah.
Yeah, if 1 in 50 leak, that means for me it would be like 1 in 5.
Yeah. Well, I've never had a bag leak, so
Oh,
drink your
by the way,
milk
Dungeon
faster.
Minister,
Drink
I've
your
been
milk faster, Dungeon Minister. You got kids. If you're having the milk last long enough for it to leak, that means they're not drinking enough milk. They're gonna get tooth rot and bone weakness and shit. You're gonna be a bad parent. You don't want to be that. Lord Dur.
Dungeon Minister. I've really been digging your shorts with the on the town, how you're taking local places and turning them into your D&D towns. I really like
I've
that idea.
never seen any of these. I
Shorts.
have I have done the holy thing and banned shorts because they are evil, and YouTube shorts as well. Both shorts and YouTube shorts, but not swim shorts. Swim shorts are okay.
No, his are really good. They're like a minute and just a quick thing.
Yes, yes, they have to be a minute. That's the format.
Yeah, but he it's not a waste of time. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
I also like the old geeks like 2-minute review of the old dungeon modules.
Mhm.
But I've been through most of the modules, and I really didn't like almost any of them, to be honest. There's like 5 that I'm really glad that I have, and those 5 I have. Like White Plume Mountain's my favorite TSR module of all time because of Black Razor, and I've got like 4 copies of it, from the monochrome to the most recent TSR or the last TSR version. I don't know how I kept getting them. I didn't buy them on purpose. I think I just bought them because I thought I didn't still have it or I couldn't find it, which has been a thing. Like instead of going through my, I want to say like 19 long boxes of comic books, instead of going through them to try to find, because they're not organized whatsoever, except if I had a run of like say Superman or the Avengers where it fills the whole box, I know it's in there. but I'll just like buy the comic book because I want to read it instead of dragging out all those boxes. Yeah, I think I did a couple of shorts,
Yeah.
um, maybe, but I think they might have actually been over the limit, so they didn't count. Uh, but I tend to ramble, and
Yeah.
at best I can get like, maybe a 5 minute video versus a one
Yeah.
minute video.
Yeah. I want to say this one thing about the one bag leaking into the larger bags. You gotta look into your trunk or wherever the hell you're moving the milk in, because you're like putting them into a bag full of something that's sharp. You can't be putting your milk in with like the new steak knives you bought, because you're gonna pop one of those bags.
And it's funny too because when I buy a book like that, just because I wanted to read whatever, uh, they end up arriving in better condition than I know mine are in, or
What?
like comic books. Every once in a while I'll buy a comic book because I just want to read whatever, and they'll either show up in better condition than I think mine are in because a lot of mine are not bagged and boarded.
Yeah.
Because there was a point where I was buying about 300 comic books a month, and I just couldn't do the bags and boards too. Um, or
That's insane.
yeah, well, I worked
You're
at a
gonna
couple.
have to bag and board them because you're gonna take them to that store when you eventually buy them to sell them
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
So
So I've been going through like all my magazines right now. I'm bagging all my magazines and modules, and those things aren't cheap. And or I get them and they're like dirt cheap. Like I want to read like I wanted to read like American Flag #1, so I picked it up for like $2 plus a little
yeah,
bit of shipping, and it showed up, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And you know, comic books are kind of uh, go the way of the dodo as well real soon. I predict, at least in print.
they pretty much are.
Dead.
We walk and carry.
Yeah, the last new comic book I bought was one for Jackie. Was a Spider-Man 2099. I didn't know they were still printing them, but it was like $5. I'm like, you're kidding me.
Yeah, I know, and it's they don't print them as cheaply as they used to,
Right.
right? Which is one thing. So that's like $1 of the inflation cost. Then they overprint them, so there's no one buying all the copy.
Hmm.
That's like another $2 of that cost.
Yep.
And then there's all the like variation covers, so you need to pay for like 8 pieces of art nobody wants or
Yeah.
needs.
I haven't seen a lot of the variation covers much lately.
That has gone down,
Yeah.
admittedly, but that's what killed the comic book
Oh yeah,
industry
yeah.
in the
That was
90s.
like roughly almost exactly. I want to say like the year 2000.
Yes, they had
And,
one smash hit where it made sense for a special event that variant covers. Then they tried cramming that down the throat of the customer because it generated so much revenue this one time when it made sense. So it
mhm,
must be what we do to keep the company alive.
and it didn't.
And then you had like uh there's this guy named it doesn't matter. I'm off topic. Um, so that there was like the comic book store, like you said you worked in.
Mhm.
The comic book store did more to kill comic books
Oh yeah,
than it
yeah.
did
I saw
anything
that video.
else
Yeah.
because you know
Well,
you you
I
you
I,
you
I think it was.
you focus the industry into just the people who love it, and you strip away all the casuals, and casual enjoyers of a thing outnumber the fanboys 10 to 1 every time.
Yeah. And no, I did not see that Kickstarter. I wish they still did that. You know, because it sounds counterintuitive, but that was one of the things that made comic books collectible was the fragility of them. When they put them on better paper, that actually was the era where they would pretty much like come bagged and boarded already, reinforcing that idea that this is a collector's item. You better take care of it, and it's on better paper, etc., better covers, and it's going to be around forever. And then you go look up the prices of them, and they're less than the issuing price.
Yeah. Well, I have no problem with the better paper. It's the comic book stores and the trying to milk you for every penny.
Yeah.
Like the FOMO. It's a limited edition cover. Lurder.
Yeah, you want to talk
Uh,
limited edition cover? Look for a newsprint copy of a number one pre 1979. That's a collector's issue.
yeah.
Something that came out in the 80s on up. Number one with a few exceptions, especially when it had a cardstock cover. Forget it. They're
Yeah.
they made too many of them, and people can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the moment they tried to turn collectible hobbies into a stock market, which they were doing, because like X Files number one, Babylon 5 number one, The Watchmen, The Death of Robin, all those issues were sold out way before they even hit the stand, the shops. Every
Yeah.
copy was accounted for. That was why I never picked up The Watchmen until uh, after the year 2000, even though it came out in the 80s. And I worked in a comic book shop. I put my money down and said, "Hey, I want The Watchmen when they come in." And I worked there, and it's like, "Sorry, they're already sold out." I'm like, what? We work here. We can't get a couple for us? Nope. Why? Oh, because they're already selling for $10 a piece. It's a $1.95 cover price. What do you mean they're selling for $10 a piece?
Yeah. And if the store is selling them for that price, that's legally scalping. So, uh,
Fund My Comic Newsprint Comics. Okay,
yeah.
write that down somewhere. But at some point, I'm sure Jackie's going to want to print comics of the stuff he's doing, and who knows? Yeah. Do you by that do you mean the channel or or the company back in the day? Because their stuff was crap. I hated everything about them that I picked up. Mind you, I didn't pay for any of those. I just read them off the shelf and put it back. And went, why are we even bothered? This stuff's crap. It
For
was like
what?
the Valiant Comic Company, I think it was. I might be thinking of something else though, but I'm pretty sure it was Valiant. I do watch the Valiant channel. I like his opinion on stuff, but he's one of those people that never says a bad thing about what he's talking about because he only does hype, for things that he likes, which you know kind of makes sense. But every once in a while, I'll review something and I hate it, and I'll let people know this is probably not for you, or maybe it is, but you have to, you can't just all be positive. Otherwise, it looks like you're, getting paid
Yeah.
for it. And everything I've ever reviewed, with one exception from Lord Mateus, he asked me to review something of his and he sent it to me. I would have bought it, but he was in a hurry to get me to hurry up and review it.
Valiant. Is it Valiant or Valiant Comics?
I'm not sure what Off Grid is actually referring to. That's why I asked.
No, no, no. The channel.
Oh, I think it's Valiant Comics.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember. Is it blue logo?
I don't remember. It's been a while, but I am actually going to be doing a new video series on omnibuses, because those are the way to go if you really want to read a comic, especially the old stuff. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
You can pick up 30 issues for like 30 to 50 bucks in hardcover. Valiant Comics.
Yeah, yeah. It's a blue
I,
logo.
I'm really trying to find a copy of the. It's not called an omnibus; it's called an archive, I believe, for Savage Sword of Conan. But they're up there about 70 to 125 bucks.
Local
for
comic stores. Yeah. LCSs, you mean local comic stores? Off grid, I'm assuming.
You're not wrong, off grid. The last comic book store I worked at was also a video rental place, and the guy had below the counter a row of very questionable anime,
Yeah.
and that's
The
what
kind of
eventually.
stuff I would write.
Well, the videos, the VHS cassettes, and that's what
Yes.
eventually got the shop shut down because he would rent them to anybody.
Yeah.
And Legend of the Overfiend F3. Yeah, don't be handing those out to anybody who doesn't have facial hair. Just saying.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't know. The
Yeah,
comic book store we have just over there, just over there. Like literally, I can go up the back side, cut through the
indeed you do, off grid. Yeah, I
thing.
remember Turok because a buddy of mine was big into the video game, and Robot Slayer looked like something I might like, but I never got into it. Uh, Take care, Dungeon Minister. We'll see you real soon. It was like
Party on, bro.
it's like the everybody here's Canadian today. You, Tanner, off grid, Dungeon Minister.
Yeah, just you. You're the outsider.
You got some cool people where you live. I got to admit.
You're going to become the sixth province or seventh province.
Yeah, no,
Well, no, we're not even going to make you a province. You don't deserve it. You're being a fucking territory.
dude, I'm gonna be so far south of you guys. I might as well be on another continent.
You're going to be a territory.
You know Texas is gonna be one of the last places to fall unless it gets nuked.
Nah, you're gonna be like, Canada, here we come. Yes, okay, we'll be a territory.
Yeah, no, they I'm pretty sure they wouldn't let me in. Although I'm gonna try to
Yeah,
make it.
we won't let you into Canada. You're not clean enough.
Yeah, I really want to go to VentureCon, but Dungeon Minister's CleriCon as well. Those are like two of the biggest items on my
Yeah.
bucket list when it comes to going places.
I just gotta remember not to bathe for like 6 weeks to 3 months before showing up. But remind me so I can get the nerd
Now,
odor
this is
back.
what's going to happen. Dungeon Minister's gonna run a game with you and me and Off Grid and Bear, and by the end of the
Bear
night, someone's gonna walk on with a bloody nose.
won't be me. I can stand on both my own legs.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hey, thanks, Off Grid. One of these days I may have to take you up on that. Just saying. You'll have an in-house dungeon master, help you skin some
yeah,
raccoons or whatever it is.
I won't let him stay at my place. I don't trust him around my
Yeah,
dogs.
yeah. Around your dogs. Why? Why? Oh, that's right. You don't let them upstairs.
No, I'll let them upstairs.
One of these days, you got to send us a picture of your pooches.
Yeah, they're little things.
Their little things.
Yeah.
Mine are
Well,
not so big.
the one of them is technically 28 pounds, but
The Chewy's, I think, 35. Well, he's probably less now that I gave him a haircut. He's probably only 30.
yes, but he's only this long.
Oh, but how wide is he?
Eh, he's just fucking solid as a rock.
Yeah, that's the way Chewy is. He's pretty solid. He's got skinny legs, but you know, I give him one of these in
I was
his.
just saying, we named him 7-11. We just call him 7, but like we jokingly call him 7-11 because he was like eating everything when we first got him, and he's earned that name. The dog can fucking eat.
Chewie's the same way. It's funny. They say that dogs are worse than pigs because a pig will eventually stop eating, but a dog won't.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Um,
true.
he's got this little bear, this little like, I guess it's technically like a hedgehog or something. Uh, like little dog toy, stuffed dog toy thing. And he fucking never lets it down. He just picks it up when he comes out of his fucking little dog pen thing at night because we have a cage for the two of them, so they're not chewing the place up or whatever. Um, and they sleep in there at night. When they come out in the morning, he picks the thing up and it's not out of his mouth until fucking food time. And it's right next to the bowl, and then he picks it right up afterward.
That's cute and weird at the same time.
Yes.
We no longer give Chewie any sort of stuffed animal of any sort whatsoever. Uh, yeah, that's what I hear off grid. He'll have it destroyed within 30 minutes.
Yeah, that was a phase for a while. It's like the sixth version of that hedgehog that he's gotten.
Oh, okay.
Like he's about a year and 3 months or so old. So yeah, he chewed through the first few really quickly and then slowed down, and now it's just like safety blanket mode with that motherfucking thing.
Okay.
And the other one is like, eh.
Yes, they can, especially cheese. Cheese is the big one here. Yeah, cheese and Doritos. If you open either, you look down and Chewy will be there, looking at you like, it's just. Uh, but I
Yeah,
gotta knock all that crap off. Real soon here will be no more chips at all.
yeah. I got myself the pizza for lunch, and they were like, "I want some crust." I had to give them a piece of crust.
Yeah, I gotta lose some weight, and I got a dentist thing coming up, so I won't be able to eat anything crunchy for a while. I don't know how I'm gonna make it through that.
Oh, fucking! It'll be a torment. It will be a torment.
Yeah, the dentist said it could be up to 6 months, and I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
6 months until you get the surgery or
Until
afterward.
the bone graft and all that
Oh yeah, you're doing the full like they're putting
implant.
a they're putting a piece of coral in your, because if it's lasting that long, that's what they're doing. If they're
Yeah, which is really weird because I keep seeing these commercials for people to getting them done in 24 hours. I'm like, I
yeah,
want that.
That's not a graft. That's like an implant of some kind. If they're doing a bone graft, that's not like, because they're not taking a piece of bone out of you from somewhere else. It's literally coral. They take coral and they shape it into the thing, like the piece they're filling in. Um, it's also the way like bone extensions work, and then that slowly gets calcified and becomes literal bone, and that's why it takes so long.
Yeah, I
So,
know
so
exactly that.
if you want to be
What's
if
up,
you
Razor?
want to be half an inch taller, right? It works the same way. They cut your leg off, and then they sew it back. Well, they don't cut it off. They
Yeah, I
go
was
in
going to
and
say,
they
what?
they,
I
they
want to be
cut
tall. I don't want a fucking robot leg. You got
they
magic legs.
they go in, they cut the bone in half, and then they put a piece of coral in its in the gap. That's like, I think it's about half an inch or so they can do, and then you're put into a cast for like the 6 months, or leg braces, and the piece of coral becomes like
Mostly bone.
thigh bone or
Shit.
shin bone over the next 6 months. It, and then you're like that much taller or whatever.
I could use that on one leg, but not both.
Yeah.
I
I,
found out that I was having like all kinds of back and knee and other problems, and go through all kinds of physical therapy and all kinds of stuff.
it's
Uh,
just one leg was longer than the other.
yep,
Yeah.
I didn't find that out for like years.
You
You
never
know what
put
I
both your
thought?
legs out straight and noticed the one was longer
Well,
than
I
the
was
other.
laying down, and the physical therapist just measured me. He's like, "Oh, did you know one of your legs is longer than the other?" I'm like, what are you talking about, Willis?" And she's like, "Yeah, this one's a little bit longer." I'm like, "Oh, that explains everything." Oh yeah, all you need to do is put some foam or something in your shoes. And I'm like, "Yeah, that don't really work if I'm not wearing shoes all the time. I need something a little more permanent." But then I
You need to walk around with flip flops. One needs to be felted.
yeah, you get one of those Frankenstein shoes. Uh,
Yeah.
I knew people like that back growing up. Uh, you know,
It's the polio. Polio will do that to you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not always as bad as your parents got it.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. As a matter of fact, I've known a lot of people with it at various uh, stages and stuff, and they just got the real shitty end of that stick. Raven, you want the link? If not, we're gonna wrap it up on the top of the hour. Uh,
Yeah.
so I can go do stuff, and Justin can go do stuff. Uh, I got to finish up the NPC God Wars stuff, and
Yeah, I should write my orders up tonight.
yeah, and I've got, like I said, the random encounters for everybody. Because some people did get an encounter in week one, some it's not till week four, and they're not always going to be good encounters, or events, I should say. Sometimes they're going to suck, but some of you have gotten some really good ones, and you got to take the good with the bad. Uh, and I just roll percentage. It's on page 130 something in the book. You can see what all of them are.
I've got to go through and see what my influence points are and how many minions I have.
Yep, yep.
Because I know I've got a few.
Yeah,
And
there've been a
for those
couple
of you,
instances where people have things they can't really have,
yeah,
so we have to fix that.
we
Uh,
need to do a review on my empire. You wanted to do that. You
yeah,
were,
everybody needs to. I've only done, I think, two audits out of the 16 PCs, but I also got to do them with the NPCs because I've made some mistakes. And
yeah.
uh,
Do you want to do that quickly after the show, or
yeah, we can do that. I just need to use the restroom after
yeah,
we.
yeah? Uh, I really don't care. I
You
just
still
need.
working on those Sentinels, man? Don't feel bad though. I started five Gray Knight Terminators, and they still don't have but
Arms.
two legs and one arm.
Yeah.
Because
Uh,
these models have so many specialized bits, arms and shoulder things, and purity seals and all kinds of weird stuff that I just haven't
they're
like decide.
they're so much better looking now, but I hate the fact that they're like all unipose or whatever it's called, not like omnipose or
Well,
whatever.
the ones I have, the legs are pretty static. I mean, they're not static. They're in cool, action oriented sort of poses, and you can fiddle with the arms up and down a little, out a little, just a little. But
But you
uh,
know what I mean? Like any arm would go on any body back in the day,
uh,
pretty much.
kind of,
If you bought the standard 5 or 10 man box, you know, any part would interchange with any other part.
oh, these things have been sitting here since April.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything with them. I've gone on to other things. I need to clear off my desk again, probably in the beginning of June, and clear it off, put some stuff away, and go, okay, I'm just going to work on these because I've been like I got this thing, this Stargate. It's kind of cool. I found it in my box of terrain, and I've got the other ones I was working on, and uh, some other stuff, and I've got this motley assortment of about 25 or 30 pirates that I need to work on, and yeah, metals. I'm a metal guy, but uh, metals, it's just file down the mold lines and put them on a base, primer them, and you're done.
Well, if it's a one piece, there are some metals out there. Like I've done a lot of like fucking absurd metal kits. The um the mid like the late '90s, early 2000s, there was the Adeptus Mechanicus like squad that you could put on your Space Marine army,
Mhm.
and I had that, and it was like all metal because that was the time. Those kind of, I think it was like 5 guys in that, and they all had like these spindly fucking arms that were metal that came out of the backpack. Like each piece in the each character in the box was at least 7 pieces,
Ooh. That reminds me, I need to go look at
and
Bronze Age miniatures and
there
see
was one
if they're still
guy.
in
There was
business.
one guy that was like, okay, it was head to toe, and then both arms, the backpack, and then the backpack had 4 fucking arms, and they were like tentacle hose with a clip, and that shit was, you might as well just remake it out of wire because that fucker was going to snap off
Hmm.
the second you put it in the box because there was no, it wasn't thick enough to pin for one, and it's just a fucking pewter, right? Like, I'll look it up. The I think I ended up throwing the fucking thing out.
I rarely throw anything out. The last thing I threw out was some of those cowgirl miniatures that I got from North Star. I had to replace them because I went to strip the paint off them, and I left them in the Sonic cleaner too long, and they
Yeah.
became just pitted garbage. But I love that Sonic cleaner, man. That was one of the best cleaning tools I picked up. It's a monster. It JB Weld, huh? Yeah, I'm really disappointed in super glue lately. It's
JB Weld, like, yeah, you could use that. The piece was too thin. It was like a millimeter thick of just
not nothing
pewter.
to grab onto, and the hole wasn't. No matter how deep the hole is, doesn't matter if the pin
Yeah.
is non-existent.
Well, yeah, you couldn't get a drill bit small enough to put a pin into the fucking thing.
Oh, really?
Well,
That's
you could, but you'd be ripping out so much, and it did like a bend right away
oh,
because it
okay.
was like one of those stupid flex tube arm things with a clamp at the end, or I think the other one had like a little flamer tip. There were 2 of them, and then there was on top of that 2 arms that were little, just microns bigger, but like jointed instead of a like a like a wire arm or whatever. Uh, I don't know if you know the what do they call that squad? Uh, uh, where it's got the like the servitor guys and a couple of Adeptus Mechanicus fuck nards. This was back before they were an independent army.
Oh, that's
Um,
going back a ways.
yeah.
Hey, off grid, does your sonic cleaner sound like a couple of warring beehives in a 50-gallon steel drum? That's what mine sounds like. It's awful. We actually made a two-part video back in the day in our first couple of months of making videos. It's got to be one of our top two worst videos ever because I actually ran the sonic cleaner and I'm trying to talk over it, explaining to people how it works and how well it works. And I had it on for I forget whatever the cycle was, and it wasn't enough, so I had to go back and finish the cycle on another video, and it was just like, oh man, not my finest moment.
Yeah. Shop. Always
Tack
over.
welded. Yeah, I'm just gonna break out the. Uh huh. And I'm not a big fan of Gorilla Glue, but I can only find the gel, and I'm done with gel, super glue gel. It's just I don't even know what the point is.
Okay. This is the new version of the kits, but I'm going to like let me know when you have that up.
Yeah, mine is incredibly noisy,
Yeah.
especially when you put a metal miniature in it.
These are the new versions of it,
Okay, I've seen that.
right? So you see this stupid fucking arm thing
Yeah.
here, and this thing.
Hmm.
So the guy had like two of these and two of these, but they just had stupid clamps at the end because you
So
couldn't
Doctor
just kind of
Octopus, basically.
yeah, basically. And then both the arms were separate pieces, and I can't remember if there was like some other like a scabbard or something like that. Um, and he also had like the cloak and some shit coming down here too. Um, and the old chonkier style, right?
Hmm.
I don't know. It was like you see how thin they are,
Yeah.
yeah, and just like a little nub to put them
Affix it to
onto the
the hole.
backpack. Yeah, and then the backpack, like you know how the metal backpacks always fucking pop off on those things.
Yeah.
You got to like drill a hole through and put a screw into that fucking thing on its own. Just like pop a hole in the back, put a screw through it, and then find a plastic Aquila symbol and some bits box at the gaming store, and just buy like those and just glue them over the screw fucking head. But yeah, no, that shit was not like it
Yeah,
does
that's
not
what I
matter the
use
glue.
off grid. Do I have any here? I got a couple of backup bottles of the glass bottles with the paintbrush for
Yeah,
the plastic cement. That's the only way to go.
yeah, um,
I still have a couple of bottles of testers, but
yeah. The Tamiya hexagon or square bottles or
yeah. Well, what was the point of super glue gel? So it takes 10 times longer and never actually uh, sticks.
it's a more of a gap filler.
Okay.
It does stick, but it's meant for like uneven surfaces that you need
Okay.
to.
I could
Yeah,
see maybe using it as a gap filler,
yeah.
and then waiting a week for it to dry.
I've never had that problem.
Oh, it always takes forever.
By
My
by the you know the cheap stuff I've told you to buy. They come in the little like one use tubes.
Yeah, same thing
Yeah,
on trumpets.
yeah. And you get them. You can get them from AliExpress in like a bag
Yeah,
of like 200 of them for like $40 or whatever. Or $30. I don't know.
it's
You
all I
wait.
had until I actually found some. I usually get Loctite. It's not bad.
You see, the problem is like if you don't use it all right away, it ends up drying up,
Fast, fast.
and how much was that bottle? 5, $10?
No, no, it was two bottles for about $3.
Okay, it's a lot cheaper there than it is
Yeah,
here.
and if you don't break the seal, the metal seal, it'll last a good long while.
The little cheap ones from China come the same way.
Yeah, but as soon
The
as you
little
break
metal
that
seal.
seal, you better hurry up and use it, or you'll have an
I
empty.
don't know. I've had the little ones, and I like sit them upright. Like I lean them against something, or I put them in
Sure.
like a little pill jar or something like that, and they'll. I've had that happen, but I've also had them last, and because they're like that big, who gives a
No,
fuck? It's
no,
like
no big loss.
30 cents worth of glue. Uh, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I only use it now for. Hey, what's up, nerdy? Just in time for us to say adios because I need to use the restroom. I've been here. I drank 3 freaking bottles of water and had some fun talking about a great old book, talking with some great old Canadians, uh,
Yeah, I
and
will say you do run the risk of like some of them being duds when you buy them that way.
yeah, I can see
Yeah,
that.
but for the price, who gives a fuck?
And if I'm lucky tomorrow, Max Leo's going to invite me onto his show, but I have a feeling since it's his last show, his last Friday night show for the rest of the year, which is a real drag. Um, he may have forgotten and may just want to do other things while he says adios for the.
Why is he saying adios for the?
Well, he's got time constraints and trying to write a book as well and other stuff and something's got to give, so he's going to give up his Friday show. Um,
What kind of book is he trying to write?
Game book, I'm assuming, like everybody else,
Yeah,
the next, Shadow Dark or whatever. I don't know.
yeah. I gotta get back on the fiction bandwagon. That's my primary drive. I'm gonna be late for my goal of 3 books this year. I haven't gotten one done so far. Uh,
I've never heard of that. No worries, nerdy. One of these days we're gonna have to have you on, like on a Thursday or something when we're just shooting the shit. You know where the link is. You're always welcome here.
yep.
But with that, I'm gonna say adios a little bit early so I can go do the things, and then Justin, I'll hit you up for your God War stuff. Anybody else who hasn't done the audit yet,
Well,
get a hold of me.
are you just gonna go take a leak?
Give me like 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'll just say I'll stay in the room and end the show. And
Oh no! I'm gonna go downstairs and everything because that's where my stuff is.
okay.
I
So
might
leave.
different device because this one uh, I want to charge.
Okay.
So
Well, end the show.
happy
Party
trails,
on, everyone.
everybody. We'll see you guys Saturday.
Saturday. Well, tomorrow. Tomorrow on my show.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
How can I forget? All right, see you guys later.